Hello, everyone, and welcome into our latest live broadcast. It's Sunday, the 31st of May, 2026. I'm CareyHolzman, and tomorrow we start June, the month of June, almost halfway through 2026 already. Time flies when you're struggling to buy RAM and storage, doesn't it? And graphics cards, and gas, and food, and never mind. Welcome in, and thank you so much for joining us today. We've got a review that was made possible by our members, the people in green in our chat room. Through their contributions, we're able to buy the products we want to review, so we're not beholden to any corporation to control our speech or prevent us from saying things that otherwise would be omitted in order to get paid by the company. Why would a company pay me otherwise, right? So instead, we opt to choose to be paid by our viewers, since YouTube advertising is mostly, it's deteriorated to a point of basically maybe a tank of gas at the end of 30 days of thousands of dollars worth of videos and time. It's not sustainable for a full-time job. It's fun. It's a fun hobby. But like any other hobby, it'll cost you money rather than earn you money. But through some creative thinking, we've decided to go fully independent based on our audience. If our audience doesn't want full independence, then we won't be able to afford to be fully independent anymore, and we'll transition the channel into something else. Maybe, I don't know, I don't want to think about it because there's no sign of that happening anytime soon. It's clear this is the content our viewers want. So thankfully, we found each other because we both want the same thing, and I can't do it without you. And there's very little other options you have on YouTube for this level of content, this level of meticulous, thorough, honest, unbiased, impartial reviews, where we're using our own money just like you would use your own money to make a purchase and evaluate if there's any buyer's remorse or a real bargain to be had. That's what we do here. And it's all done live, unscripted, and unrehearsed, so we never know what's going to happen. I have no control over what's in this box. It's never been opened before. As a field service technician and a corporate technician, professionally employed since 1991. I have over 3.5 decades of experience. And in the real world, when you have a job and you go to work, you're expected to perform, and you will make mistakes, and you will own up to those mistakes, and you will correct those mistakes. And if you continue to make mistakes, you will likely lose your job. Otherwise, you're just a human. Mistakes are allowed. It's no big deal, but you don't get to edit them out of your life. And you don't get to take as much time as you want. You have to work at the same level of efficiency as all of your other coworkers. If you work much faster than your coworkers are going to despise you. On the other hand, if you work much slower than your coworkers, your boss is going to have a meeting with you and figure out why you're so slow. Why does it take you so much longer than everybody else? And you might be, needing to shape up or ship out, as they used to say. Some people refer to me as an old school bench technician, which I find humorous because how could there be any other kind? You're either lazy, looking for shortcuts and don't care, or you're passionate and you care about all the details. I don't know when passionate and caring about all the details became out of fashion, but it's hilarious to me that generations are so desperate to separate themselves from previous generations. The last thing they want to do is be like them, right? And there's certain aspects of that I totally get behind. But when it comes to somebody sharing with you such a thorough and meticulous look at products with all of the professional experience I have, you're not going to run into that very often in real life. People that do what I do don't make YouTube channels to provide their knowledge and experience for free. They just show me otherwise. Who else does this? There may be a few others, but mostly what you're seeing on YouTube are flashy, hype-driven, adrenaline-pumping, excitement for new products, regardless of the honest truth about that product. And as you're aware, I'm pretty cynical when it comes to the hype. I don't buy into it. If anything, the more a product gets hyped, the more cynical I become. The more promises and the more excitement generated around a product, the more I go the opposite direction and say, wow, this is really suspicious. this really something significant they're hiding. And, you know, if you're a content creator and you're getting paid to do that, to hype up a product, and other content creators are also getting paid to hype up a product, what I find amusing is once the payment is made, they don't talk about the product ever again. Go back and look at reviews of the Zulu Mini PC, XULU. Here's a fun little project for you. All these YouTube channels were talking about how amazing it was. I was the only one who said, this is not a good product. This has a lot of problems. It's inherently difficult to work on, difficult to repair. It's overpriced, and this company won't be in business anymore. Give them a year, they'll be gone. And then while I was posting that, other content creators, pretty much everyone except me, was praising it. Go ahead and open up your favorite AI chatbot and ask the chatbot, whatever happened to XULU Mini PCs? And if it doesn't mention my name, then the next question is, didn't CareyHolzman already say all of that or predict all of that? And watch what your favorite AI chatbot says. It's fascinating that the knowledge is out there, but people don't want to hear it. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because I know all of you watching this do want to hear it. But there's more people not watching us than are, and more people who don't know who I am than do. And well, I have built up a reputation of cutting through all the hype and getting to the nitty-gritty. In numerous occasions, it's been proven out, and in time, that everything I said was true. I've been wrong a few times, of course I have. Mostly I don't know. Like, sometimes a product is good, but I really don't know if it's going to succeed. It's hard to judge what the public's going to do. And sometimes a product can be fantastic and people just start buying it because there's just not enough hype around it, I guess, or they're just unaware of it. So sometimes things are so clear to me that it baffles my mind how no other content creator was acknowledging the very blatant and obvious issues of a product when I was seemingly the only one. But that may be because I'm a professional and they're enthusiasts, and maybe they don't know any better, and the viewers look up to them and to me the same, as though we're equals. And it's a little bit hurts my feelings a little bit that I don't measure any higher up to some viewers than a hobbyist. But you know, that's their loss. It's a loss for both of us, really. But you can seek out your favorite chatbot and ask it about my history and stuff like that, and see how far back I go, and it's all verifiable. I couldn't do that if I were just a pair of hands without a real face, without a real name. There'd be no way to verify you were actually looking at the real creator, because the real creator stays hidden. And if you want to take advice from a hidden creator, that's on you. I wouldn't. It might be fun entertainment, but I wouldn't actually believe anything they say, because they're not even willing to put their face or their real name behind their words, which tells you all you need to know about their confidence and what they have to say. But enjoy the entertainment value. But with that, there are some great YouTube content creators that really do this for a living, but they're not very well known because they're not driving the hype machine. Our friends like Doug Betts and Live Windows Training with Doug Betts, Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To out of England, Ask Your Computer Guy Scott Merrill, Matt's Computer Services. As far as diagnostics and repairs go, he's better than me. He is that good. Like, he's probably half my age, maybe not quite half my age. And man, he just nails it every single time. And I'm very impressed with it. The rest of us are a little bit more human than Matt. We make more mistakes. But you know what? These are the content creators I enjoy watching. People that actually do the work for other people and get paid, not just whatever they want to do at home. And it's because of our members that makes these videos possible, because it's not very sponsor friendly unless we happen to review a product and decide we like it. But then the ship is already sailed. Why would you pay me for something I've already done for free? So that's the struggle in today's YouTube climate and environment. And I'm going to try my best to stick to my guns and make sure that I stay impartial and unbiased and cynical, to point out not only the bad, but also the good, without any corporate influence at all. So with that, welcome in everybody joining us today. I want to say hello to everyone I see in our chat room. If you're watching live, please join us in the chat. We'd love to have you there. Watching this video after it airs is probably not too fun because you're not part of the party. It's like you came over after we had a party and all you see is a big mess from everybody that left. And then you're like, I don't understand why everybody talked about what a great place this was. Well, that's because you weren't here when it was hopping. So if you come in here when it's hopping, you won't want to leave. It's such a great community that all you have to do is see for yourself. Just pop into our live chat when we're live and just say hello. That's all you have to do. Watch what happens next. We have people watching from all over the world as we broadcast live, unscripted and unrehearsed, to show real technical work done exactly the way it's done when you're paid. Okay, so when I work at Intel or when I worked at the power company or the government agencies that I've worked at, there's an expectation that you're on the clock and you're working. And until you clock out, you're expected to be working the entire time. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do back-breaking, exhausting work, but that you are finding a solution as soon as you can, the right solution, the first time preferably, so that you can get the next problem. And the more problems you can handle per day, the more likely you are to be promoted. And the worse you are, if you have to keep going back and fixing things you supposedly already fixed, the more likely it is you're going to stay without a promotion, quit out of frustration, or be let go due to lack of efficiency, just not getting things done, lack of productivity. It doesn't matter that you're dressed well and you have good hygiene, that's expected. It doesn't matter that you show up on time, that's also expected. I mean, if you can't even do that, you might as well just stay home. But once you arrive and you've met all the requirements for arrival, you'll then be expected to keep up with everyone else that you work with, not fall behind and not lead so far ahead that you're making everyone of your coworkers look bad. When you're a hobbyist making a YouTube video, you do whatever you want whenever you want to. There's nobody to answer to. So it's very difficult for me to get behind any of those channels with any sincerity because nobody is actually judging their work. Nobody, you can take a test, okay, and you can say, look, I aced my test, when no third party looked at your answers to see if they were correct. You can create anything you want. It doesn't have to be real. And welcome to YouTube. Now, if I take a test and I hand that test to the teacher or the expert, and then the expert says you got this wrong and you got that wrong, then I would also show you those results. Other tech content creators would never do that. No, because that would make them look bad and they can't, they don't have the personality to withstand that sort of honesty. You know, they can be honest about other people, but not with themselves. And that's okay. They're not breaking any rules. That's their choice. It's just a very common, typical stereotype choice. And, you know, when I see it, I'm just sort of like, oh, another one, you know, click, another one, click. And that's me watching YouTube on my television. I have the remote. Next. You already got that one figured out. Oh, it's more of this. It's another clone. No originality. No real honest personality. We're just, please like me. Please click the subscribe. Please click like. Please help me get famous. I don't care about that. I care about my legacy. Did I do everything held to my own standard? Did I sell out? Did I give up? Did I walk away? Did I stay in the fight? These are the things over time that will prove integrity and set an example for future generations that I hope that they can look up to and aspire to be at a very minimum. I would expect younger generations to aspire to be even better than that. So that's why I'm here. And I hope that you're here because you appreciate that candor and the honesty, that directness and that cynicism to be proven out live on camera. Not sure anywhere else on YouTube you can find it. If you are aware of a place on YouTube that does something similar, please let me know, because more often than not, I don't get any emails from people telling me. As far as I know, those channels don't exist apart from the few I've mentioned. So, you know, you can help out if you know of one, because, you know, birds of a feather flock together, and I would certainly love to get to know others in the field that are professionals doing this kind of content that are not getting the views or the attention that they deserve to be getting. Well, the slick snake oil salesman getting paid to put on a show is the one getting the most amount of views and popularity. It's kind of a twisted world online right now, but I hope eventually it'll all kind of balance out. But in the meantime, you're here, and you represent the few who actually appreciate the difference, and I appreciate each and every one of you for that. And that includes Eugene Hildago, that joins us in the chat room. Isaiah says hello. Mad Turian and Sean Skinner joining us, along with Jimmy Gray, and of course our channel administrator, Marlena, saying hello in the chat room. There's Jim Kenny and Tony Aindow. Sahasanad says hello. Eddie Casanova and Andy W6AD says hello. Mark Gaines joins us from Northern Ireland. There's Luke Greenia from Vermont saying hello. W.E. Holmes says hello from Scotland. It's a rainy day on the Isle of Skye. Still amazing landscape. Yeah, I bet. I bet you have $1 million view right out your window on a clear day. Ben Laird, also from Scotland, says hello. And our friend Buster, Peter Laycock, sends an Amazon gift card today before the show to support us, joining us from Edinburgh, Scotland. And a shout out and a hello to you, my friend. And a thank you as well. Richard DeFry says hello. There's David Herzog joining us, along with Edward Bass and Gary Tatum and Frank Jimmy. Anthony S.F. Wally says hello. Hello, Wally. Shamim Kejviras joins us from Sweden. Welcome in, Shamim. Boss joins us, along with Xander Vanderhoven. South Georgia Basson says hello. He says, I've been learning from you for over 2 decades. Thank you for all of your info. Right on. Well, thank you. That means a lot to me. Crazy Vera joins us. And I hope I got everybody. I don't mean to skip over anybody, so if I did, my apologies. Gore Gamer says hello. Lana Dro joins us as well. There's Bajin Guy. And yeah, today, looking at a mini PC from a manufacturer called Glorlin. Now, what the heck is a Glorlin? I have no idea. When I'm shopping on Amazon, and I'm looking for, like, what is the most popular mini PC being sold right now on Amazon, it is the cheapest one. You know, it's one thing you can rely on with the culture that we live in. People sit there and they talk about blah, 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 expensive, high-end, super nice. But then when they go to the store and buy something, they buy the cheapest thing they can buy. It's the same story over and over and over and over and over again. And I'm talking about the masses. I'm not talking about those people who actually do mean what they say and say what they mean and put their money where their mouth is and actually go and buy the product that they're talking about, that they're praising. You know, praising a product doesn't really help the company if you're not buying it. So the real fact of the matter is what sells. Nothing else matters. How you feel about it, whether or not you like it, none of that matters, because it's not, you can't count it. In other words, if 100 people say, I really love this $2,000 computer, I think it's the best thing and everybody should buy one, and then none of them buy it, it doesn't help the company at all. So then when you're counting the books, when you're doing the numbers and you're trying to see, okay, I sell mini computers Which mini computers sold the most of? I need to know where I need to replenish inventory and what I need to be prepared for future sales. It's always the cheapest ones, not the best ones. When people say, what's the best video card? They act as though they have all the money in the world. And it's such a silly question. In general, the best of anything is the most expensive. That's it. That's it. If you're that simple-minded to think that there's only one best, then the simple-minded response to you is it's the most expensive video card would be the best video card, using that simplistic mentality. Now, on the other hand, if you don't have that kind of money, then you might ask, what's the best video card for this amount of money? That's a completely different question. And then we'd have to ask, well, how do you want to use it? Because it may be a waste of money. It may make no difference depending on what you're using it for. So what's best for you for that amount of money may be, and most likely is, not the best for anyone else with the same budget. Not easy, is it? If you want that, you can buy Apple. The Apple platform makes it so you don't have to make these decisions. They're not cheap, but you also can't shop around for a better price unless you want to buy used. You will buy at the price they say. You will get the parts they say you're going to get. You will have the few options they say you can have, and that's the end of it. And you don't have to think for yourself anymore. They'll do the thinking for you, and they charge extra for that. And if you like that, then join Apple. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a preference. If all you want is the best, then buy Apple, because that's all you can get. There is nothing worse, and there is nothing better. You can't shop around. That's it. So you could just as easily say it's terrible equally, or it's best equally, depending on how you want to look at it. The beauty of a Windows-based computer is the freedom of making choices that benefit you. And if you don't know what benefits you, again, you have a choice to go to Apple, or you have a choice to study and learn if you want to put that much time and effort into it. Or you can just buy whatever you want and see how it works out for you. Or you can hire an expert that can do the research for you and find a solution that meets all of the ways that you're planning on using the computer within the amount of money you have to spend. Sometimes what people want, quite often, is they want a $1,000 computer for $300. There's no expert that can help you with that. That's an unreasonable, overly simplistic idea that there's some hidden bargain if you just look hard enough. It's not true. It's never been true in this industry. If you're looking at used marketplaces, you could potentially find a really good one-time deal, but you'll be pretty much left in most cases without any warranty or support, which, may not matter to you. And if it breaks, then too bad, you throw it away. It's a gamble. If you're happy to gamble, listen, I'm not a good gambler. If I go to Las Vegas, I don't go to gamble. I go to see shows. I go to see the attractions. I go for the entertainment. I don't go to gamble because I'm bad at it. So why would I want to just take my money and flush it down the toilet? I can do that here. I don't have to. There's toilets here. I don't need to use the toilets in Vegas. And some people love it and they make a lot of money and they're really, really good at it. I'm jealous of those people. Who doesn't want free money? But turns out it's my money they're getting. Anyway, so I'm looking on Amazon and I'm trying to find what I know people want to buy. They want to buy cheap. Okay, they want to buy inexpensive, and they want to think that they're getting a deal when they're just pretty much getting the same thing anybody else that spends that amount of money is going to get. Where the differences fall is whether or not you have a warranty or support. A lot of companies that sell on Amazon and other places claim to have warranty and support, but when you try to exercise it, you find out it doesn't exist. They don't respond to you. What good's a warranty? Just say it. It's in writing. It's got a warranty. Yeah, if they don't respond to your emails or your phone calls, they're just ghosting you. I don't know what you think you can do about it. You're stuck. So if you buy from big name brands like Dell, HP, Lenovo, they've got your back on warranty, but you also know you're going to pay more for it. And you might want something a little less cookie cutter. So how do you get to that more unique build that doesn't equate to a more unique price without paying, the tax on the big name brands because they have a lot of overhead? Well, one of those ways is to look through some of the Asian PC manufacturers, which is, by the way, all PC manufacturers are Asian. There's no exception. But the lesser known brands, such as Minisforum and TrigKey and Wowie, we've also seen Ace Magic, Camrui, Paladin, etc., 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 B-Link. They're not all the same. They might sell the exact same equipment and just put their name on it, but how they support it, if they support it, and what warranty they give is entirely up to each individual company to do it however they want to. If they're not going to respond to your emails when you need help, that's their choice. And they're in another country and there's not much you can do about it. Tough luck. You can warn other people, leave reviews, say, hey, I reached out to this company, they won't respond. And you know what? People are going to read your review and buy it anyway, because money, if the product's cheap enough, they're going to buy it. And then if they need support and they don't get it, then you were in an I told you so moment, but they'll never admit it to you. So it's not your job to protect anybody. Just it's my position, and I've taken it upon myself to share with you the inner workings of my business. So when a client says, we need some computers for our office, we need 10 new computers, I would custom build them. These days, not so much. Now we can just go with mini PCs. But those mini PCs are a responsibility of mine. If I sell them to a customer, the customer sees a computer being bought from Carey, not a computer being bought from Glorlin. Otherwise, they wouldn't need me. They could just buy from Glorlin. So if I say to the customer, my recommendation is buy 10 of these Glorlins and they'll meet your needs, if anything goes wrong, if they need support or warranty, that falls on me, not on Glorlin. So let's just say, for example, we recently had the A-Dreamer Mini PC, and they claimed to have a warranty on Amazon, and they claimed to have 24/7 support. We've emailed them from 2 different email accounts, and we emailed 2 different email addresses they offer. They have never once responded to us. Now, if I did that to one of my customers, if my customer calls me, leaves me a message, or they send me an email, and I don't respond within, let's say, 12 hours, I really need to respond within 4 hours, which I usually do. In fact, it's pretty rare that I would exceed 4 hours. My customer's business is down. Their customers can't get helped. They're like in a stalled car in the middle of a busy freeway, just waiting for an accident and possibly serious injury or death. Now, it's not quite that bad, but it could be when the end result is the company goes out of business, shuts their doors, and lays off all their employees, and everybody lost their income, and people might start losing their homes. It's not funny. It's not something to be taken lightly, and you get exactly what you deserve if you're the person that was held accountable to rescue them and you did nothing. Especially when there's a payment and a commitment. You're going to find yourself in a court of law, and you might find yourself in jail. So hobbyists don't have to deal with any of this nonsense, right? They're just having a good time. And that's great. It's wonderful entertainment. Sometimes there's useful information. But before I would offer a suggestion to a client, I need to know what I'm talking about. I need to know what I'm committing myself to. Because as far as the customer is concerned, this is a reflection on me. So if I make a bad suggestion, then that's going to, what do you think they're going to say? It looks like Carey just doesn't know what he's talking about anymore, because we got burned listening to him. So we're not going to listen to him anymore. In fact, we should probably find somebody to replace him. Hobbyists don't have that problem. I don't want to give up my career. I don't want to have to go find other ways to make money. I will, but I don't want to. I love doing what I'm doing. So I'm not going to sabotage myself by going for the cheapest price. I will find the best value for that client's needs while staying within that client's budget, while taking on the accountability and responsibility for the ownership of that computer for as many years as they have it, in warranty or out. Doesn't matter. If they have a computer like this for 8 years, for 8 years they're going to call me until it's time to replace it if they have any problems. So am I willing to put the work in? Am I willing to do work for free under warranty simply because I provided a suggestion to my customer? And if I'm not, why would the customer ever ask me again? If I make a bad suggestion, why would the customer ever ask me again? You understand what I'm getting at? There are serious, real life, real world consequences when you're being held accountable because you're getting paid. No differently than if a corporation were paying me to tell you certain things and I didn't say them, they wouldn't pay me. They could even sue me. I could violate a contract. So what I'm presenting to you here today is the inner workings of a real life computer technician and computer shop with the accountability, responsibility, liability, and pressures that are placed upon someone in our field to be held accountable for what you build somebody for. That, again, hobbyists, they're not getting paid. They're generally just spending money and having fun. So do know which content you're watching and enjoy them both. But understand what the differences are. They're not the same. But with that being said, the Glorlin was one I stumbled on when looking on Amazon for inexpensive computers that I might consider recommending to clients should they ask. But I have to evaluate it first. None of my clients, I refuse to allow my clients that pay me to be guinea pigs. Because again, it's a reflection on me. If it doesn't turn out well, it doesn't bode well for me. So one of the first steps is that we get it here on the bench and we evaluate it. And then based on that evaluation, I'll tell you what I like, I'll tell you what I don't like. We'll test the waters to see if the company offers support, how responsive they are, do they have drivers, are they the right drivers, are there any issues with the computer, heat issues, noise issues, assembly or disassembly issues, proprietary components. I need to know all of this before I commit myself to being obligated to repairing it for the life of the machine. That one sale that earns me that little tiny bit of money, I have to stand behind it for an indefinite amount of time until the customer decides they want to replace it. At least if I want to stay in business, I better do that, because if I don't, I probably won't have a business very much longer. Now, once they're out of warranty, which for me would be a year, then any amount of service work would be billable, but I can't just throw my hands up and say it can't be fixed. That would be on me to fix it or to replace it, and I might actually have to spend money, just as companies do to make commercials. They spend money to replace the computer at my own cost, to make sure the customer, well, it doesn't guarantee the customer won't leave and take their business somewhere else, but it incentivizes them to stay with me, that I take care of them. So I consider that marketing money. And I also consider it bad judgment on my part that I recommended that computer, and I won't ever recommend that computer again if it costs me money. So the companies that sell also get consequences. It passes down like dominoes. Now with Gatorly and Glorlin, they're apparently the same company. And they're definitely, you know, from the Gatorly we looked at, it's definitely not the best mini PC I've seen, but it seemed like a pretty good value if you're willing to accept where some of the savings is coming from. And I'm hopeful that this Glorlin Mini PC will be equal to or better than the Gatorly, which I think Gatorly is getting better. Previously, the Gatorly we looked at versus the most recent one that we looked at, we see an improvement. And they're a new company, so let's give them the benefit of the doubt that they're still polishing their processes and improving their products. So today I'll show you what we're looking at here. You can only buy this on Amazon. I don't think that you can buy from Glorlin directly. And if you can, it must be some kind of a secret. But here's what we're going to look at. I found this for $280. And it's a Ryzen 5300U. It includes 16 gigs of DDR4 and a 512 gig NVMe drive, storage drive. It does have a Type-C USB on it, just on the front, just the one. It has dual LAN, 2.5 gig LAN. It can support 3 display monitors simultaneously at 4K, no problem, with Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.3. And the RAM is upgradable and the storage is upgradable. It's not soldered in. The operating system is Windows 11 Pro, already installed. All the drivers should be plug and play. However, we've often found that the version of Windows installed on many of these inexpensive mini PCs are well out of date, and it may be best to just reinstall it or sit around for a day and a half waiting for Windows updates to keep rebooting and updating to get them up to speed. And again, that's part of how they can save money. The other way they save money is by using an older processor. A Ryzen 3 5300U is no spring chicken. You know, technology depreciates as it gets older, unless it's RAM or storage, but that's never happened in my life until recently. But if I open up another tab here and we'll say Ryzen AMD 5300U, release date. Does anybody want to guess when this processor was introduced? It was 5 years ago. In fact, 5.5 years ago. It's pretty old. We're talking about a chip that was released when you were 5 years younger than you are today. It's 4 cores and 8 threads, which is very similar to the Intel-based computer we looked at Friday. What did we look at on Friday? Same thing, 4 cores, 8 threads, right around the same price, $280, 1 USB Type-C. You're really not going to find somebody giving away the store, okay? When you're looking at the prices online, they're all pretty close to identical, minus maybe a $10 or $20 coupon savings or difference for whatever reason. But at $280, this will be a unit that sells simply because consumers want what's cheap. And as long as it's supported and it works, there's really not a big difference in processors in the last 5 years. There really isn't. Unless you're doing advanced technical development and research, I would expect if you were doing those kind of things, you'd have a bigger budget. But this originally was designed right out of the gate in 2021 to be budget conscious and more entry level. It's a Zen 2 architecture, which right now we're what, Zen 4, Zen 5? So it's older, but because it's older, that's why the price is so good. You can't have both. Wouldn't it be great if I could have a Core Ultra 9 for $280? Not in this lifetime, you're not gonna see it. So of course, being reasonable and having a practical mindset, we know not to look for it. It's a waste of time. If you end up buying something like that, it'll almost always be a hoax. It'll be a scam. It'll be something you buy on some social media site like Facebook or Temu or, I don't know, Craigslist or even possibly eBay. And then they ship you a package and what's in the box is literally anything but what you ordered. Or it's a, what's the word? Counterfeit product, where they've taken an older processor and they make it look like a new one, but it won't fit in the socket. And an expert can look at it and tell you that's not what this is. Somebody just relabeled it. Relabeling it. Most of the scammers can't be bothered to relabel. It takes a lot of time and effort to relabel things. So usually they'll send you a hat or a pair of socks. That's that Ultra 9 for $280. You thought you were getting a bargain? You just spent $280 for a pair of socks. There's not much you can do about it in most cases. You just take it as take the lump and learn and move on. Consider it a cheap lesson and that you didn't spend $400. And consider it a warning to move forward with the rest of your life with that lesson sticking with you, because it's painful. And the more painful the lesson is, the longer it'll stick with you, and you won't soon forget it. You likely won't make that mistake twice. So hopefully, by watching my content, I can help you to avoid making the mistake the first time. There's too many scammers on the internet. I think there are more scammers than there are legitimate sellers online. Depends where you shop. But with that being said, I think it's time we start to do an unboxing. What do you think? I do consider myself to be a technician first and foremost, but also and equally a consumer advocate. If I feel like there's a company, whether intentionally or unintentionally, ripping people off or lying to people, like saying they have support when they actually don't actually respond to any support emails, or claiming they have a warranty when you can't access any attention from them, so therefore you can't get any authorization for warranty if they don't respond. These are bold lies that I'm going to call out and warn you against. And if you choose to buy them, you do so knowingly. And if a company chooses to correct their behavior and I'm made aware of it, I'm glad to update the review. But in most cases, if I can't reach out to them and tell them there's a problem, they're also not watching content on their own product. They're just looking at sales numbers. And they might just cash out and close up the shop and be done with it and move on to the next scam. So whether or not, there's levels of scams. Some are, pickpockets, all right? Others are just, how do I make a quick buck? I'll buy a bunch of these white box mini PCs really cheap. I'll slap my name on them, sell them really cheap on Amazon. And once I sell out of that inventory, there's no more for me to buy. And I'll cash out and close the shop. Now, I don't think that's what's happening with Glorlin or Glorlin, or I wouldn't have them here on the channel. I would not have spent channel money to buy this unless I thought this has the potential to be a recommended buy. All I'm doing now is just verifying. So let's verify. Let's get to unboxing our Glorlin, what do they call this? GT103. As you can see, I'm cutting the tape on the box. This has never been opened before. You're going to see it before I do. Here's how it's packaged. We have some documentation. We have the mini PC itself. This looks like the exact same design as the Glorlin that we looked at earlier, where the halves, the bottom and the top and the middle are all sandwiched together with these same 4 screws. It's a very clunky assembly, but it gets the job done and it keeps it simple. And it also keeps it inexpensive. It's definitely not typical in that way. It's well, you'll see when we open it up. What else do we have? We have a power brick. Once again, we have a power brick that plugs directly in the wall. This is going to block potentially other outlets around it or below it. I'm not a fan of these, but you should expect this when you're buying at this price point, because that's one of the ways they can get it this inexpensive, is by reducing the number of components. And my biggest issue with this is the length of this cable. You see, if this was a laptop power brick, picture this without the plug. It would look just like a brick. And then we'd have another cable here that would buy us another 6 feet, let's say, giving us 12 or 15 feet of cable, which I find when I do these reviews necessary. So this is going to be a hard one for me to review because I'm going to have to put this to the edge of the table for the power to reach. So bear that in mind. Not a big deal to buy an extension cord if you need one, but if you add in the cost of the extension cord or any other modifications, you'll probably find it was cheaper to just buy a higher end mini PC that you didn't need to buy the extras. That would save you money. But that's, I can't speak to your preferences. Maybe you like to spend more money. I don't know. Here's a VESA mounting bracket, and this is used to hang the computer. You can hang it off the back of a monitor. You can hang it under a desk. You can hang it on a wall. I never ever use these. And when you do use them, like on the back of a monitor, you're going to want a really short HDMI cable. Nobody wants to see the cables. So they include an HDMI cable, but again, the cable length on this is going to be limited for that very reason right there. And therein is your complete unboxing. So let me go ahead and put the rest of this stuff back in the box. Just throw it all in there, and the documentation. Let's get this out of the way so we can begin our evaluation. And one of the first places I want to start is just simply powering it on and make sure it works. Do not, well look, you do what you want. I would strongly advise, don't open this thing up until you verify it works. Because you could break it and refuse all responsibility. Because you just can't accept it. I don't know what people are thinking. Well, it was broken. Well, you don't know that because you didn't turn it on first. You broke it. I didn't break it. All I did was open it. Yeah, and you broke it. Well, no, it was broken. Prove it. Go back in time, take it out of the box, plug it in, Show me that it doesn't work. Well, I can't. It's too late. Exactly. You broke it. That's the debate. It's done. Unless you can prove otherwise, you broke it. So the first thing you do with a new computer before you modify it is you plug it in and verify it works. Very simple. See how short this cable is? This is going to be a challenge. Let me see what I can do to make this reach. Thankfully, I have one of those surge protectors that has the outlets separated by about 2 inches. So this doesn't, on my case, it doesn't block. It actually does block 2 power plugs above it, but the ones beside it are available. And again, at this price point, too bad. You know, you're getting the same thing everybody else gets at this price point on a brand new product. That should be expected. All right, so we're not going to plug this into the network when we first turn it on. We just want video, keyboard and mouse, and power. That's all. No printers, no flash drives. Don't plug in multiple monitors. One monitor. Take it easy. Slow down. Take a breath. Do this right. You'll only have to do it once. Do it wrong, well, you must have more time than me because I have other things to do. So I'm just telling you the logic behind why I'm doing it this way. You may dismiss it if you choose to. I don't mind. I don't mind if you need to do something 4 times to get it right. What do I care? But if you want to know how to avoid that, I'm going to demonstrate it live. So with just those things plugged in, power, HDMI, and the dongle for a keyboard and mouse. Make sure my keyboard and mouse are turned on. This is unboxed live, unrehearsed. Will it power up, or did we receive a bad unit? If you've been watching this channel over the course of the last 18, how many years have I been doing this? 18 years? Oh man, am I getting old. Then you know we very rarely ever get a bad, dead on arrival product anymore. But you know, could be a first time. Oh, got a power light. That's a good sign. Let's jump over to our streaming computer, which I'm going to grab right here. And let's see it boot. Make sure that it works. Okay, there's the power on self-test. It says Glorlin. The flushing toilet bowl, that is the Windows 11 loading. Seems appropriate. And then we should be getting through an out-of-box experience here, asking us some setup questions, if it's done right. If it takes us directly to a desktop, I would suggest you return the unit. That means somebody else already set up the computer. And unless you know who that person was, like if I did it for you, that's one thing. But directly from a manufacturer, that's a violation of Microsoft terms. But Microsoft is not the law, okay? So Microsoft just says, we're not working with you. You'll get no help from us. You as a consumer shouldn't have to tolerate that, in my opinion. We're going to continue in English as we go through our out-of-box experience here. Let's see what happens. United States is a region, that's correct. United States keyboard layout with no secondary language keyboard layout. Accept a license agreement. I'll put a username of user. Look how fast this thing is. You know, for a 5-year-old processor, you know, it depends on what you're using the computer for. A lot of people think they need an 800 horsepower car, and they won't even drive the speed limit. They drive 10 miles an hour under the speed limit, but they insist they need to have a high power performance car, right? That's what we see a lot in this industry. People that just, they want it all, they barely use it, and they want it for the price of nothing. All right, without that, aside from that, we hit accept on those privacy options there. I leave location settings on, so it'll set the date and time for us, and it does set it in the BIOS as well, so there's no reason to go in there and manually do that stuff anymore. That's all the old days of computing. Let it go. Unless you still like vintage computers, in which case, when you're working on those vintage computers, your vintage experience will apply. But on modern computers, very little of what we used to do we still do today. In fact, if you go back and watch how I used to set up like Windows 10 or Windows 7, for example, you can go back and see those videos. You'll see I don't set them up the same. Is it because I changed? My expectations are exactly the same. When the operating system changes, I'd be a fool to just keep plowing on without learning and adapting to the newest technologies. And that is what demands my change. I don't do it because I woke up one morning and changed my mind. It's just different operating systems require different configurations. You can't say, well, this is how I did it in Windows XP, so I want to do it the same way in Windows 11. That's a very foolish and complete misunderstanding of how technology works, at least in my opinion. Now you see here we've got this control panel on display. Now that's not normal. It is an option that can be set up when you set up the deployment imaging for these computers, and I don't know why they would have done that. I think that's very strange. However, everything else seems pretty normal. If I right-click on the Start menu, and we'll go to System, we can verify everything is what it's supposed to be. So there's our Ryzen 3 5300, 16 gigs of RAM, and it's Windows 24H2, so we're a version behind, but given everything else and considering price, that's to be expected. We should see all of our drivers already loaded from the factory in the device manager. And there they all are. So no problems here. It is plug and play, ready to go. Okay. Now, we can go to Windows Update right now, but we are going to be there a while because this machine is older. It's going to be missing a ton of updates, and depending on how fast your internet is, if I were you, I know you want to get using it. I get it. Leave everything unplugged. Keep it exactly like this. Just those 3 cables. The only exception is now that we've gotten to the desktop, we know the computer works. The next step would be to plug it in to our, my cables are tangled, hold on. Plug it into your router, right, or your switch, however, or connect it to your Wi-Fi. This is the next step. This order is critical if you want to do it once. If you want to do this numerous times, do it however you want. Best of luck to you. With that plugged in now, I would recommend you download all the updates, reboot the computer, download all the updates to the updates, and repeat until it says you are all up to date. And when it says you're up to date, check for updates one more time, because if you check it too soon, you didn't give enough time for the previous updates to finish and it's giving you a false result. So check it one more time. If it comes up twice and says you're up to date, now it's up to you to decide what you want to plug in first, but don't plug it all in. You want to plug in a monitor? Don't plug in 2 additional, just plug in 1, get that one configured. Then if there's a 3rd one, plug that one in, get that one configured. If there's a printer, plug that in, get it configured. If there's Microsoft Office or other software, install it. 1 program, configure it the way you want it, make sure it works, reboot the computer, make sure it works. If you don't stop and reboot, the next time you reboot and it doesn't boot, in that circumstance, you won't know what you did that caused it. Start over again. You did not get your computer to the way it was today within hours of you receiving the computer and hooking it up. You built it up over months and possibly years. And the idea that you think you can put all that back in a matter of an hour or 2, you're disconnected from reality. You never did it that way in your life. You built that up over time. And what I try to tell people is, number 1, you're feeling overwhelmed and you're being impatient and you're being unrealistic. You have to remember how you found yourself with all those programs and printers and monitors. And likely it was just one monitor was purchased and then another monitor was purchased and then you bought a printer. All of this happened naturally over time. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to get 6 months of work done in 2 hours. And you think that's practical, reasonable, or logical? So what I tell people who have a lot of stuff, I run into a couple different kinds of people. Some people say, you see all these programs on my desktop? I want all those over here. What are they? Doesn't matter, I want them all. What's the point of copying over programs you don't use anymore? Well, I might want it again. Well, why wouldn't you install it when you need it? That's how you got it. Everything on your computer you put on when you needed it. So if you don't need your printer right now, there's no rush to go get your printer hooked up. That's just silly. Well, I want it to work when I'm ready to use it. That's awfully demanding, and it sounds like something a rich person says to their servant. So if you want to act that way, be my guest. If you're paying somebody like me to set it up for you and you want to make sure you get your dollar's worth, then you make sure that you have that technician put on everything. Because when they leave, you know, they'll often say, is there anything else I can do? And you say, no, everything's good. You have to provide the installers for those programs. So if you say, Carey, I want you to set this computer up for me, and I need Office and QuickBooks, I say, give me your Office and QuickBooks license codes, and I'll put them on for you. No problem. Well, I don't know where they are. Well, I cannot provide those to you. I just need your license code. I can get the downloads from the websites of the companies if you don't have it, but I need your license code. I don't know where my license codes are. Well, I'll tell you what, when you find them, I can connect remotely in the future and help you. That's no problem. That's customer service. I'm happy to do that for you, but nothing I can do for you today while I'm on site setting this up for you. So what I would do for you is say, why don't you use both computers? If this one has applications on it and you don't know where they came from or how to license them, you need to figure that out. You need to reach out to the manufacturers, look through your emails for receipts, and you need to have a better system. So when this happens again, you have your codes. If you don't want to do that, it's not my job. I can't do it for you. That would be impersonation, and that would be essentially scamming by claiming I was you on your behalf to a company trying to get your private codes. That's completely illegal. So essentially, it's on you to keep yourself organized. Or you could simply purchase the software again, and this time when you get the license code, put it away. Whether you print it out or you save it as a text file on a backup drive and have all your product codes, you'll never be in this position again unless you want to be. So if you're not going to bother to take the time to put it away and know where you can find it, then it's clear to me this is what you wanted. And the only person you need to be mad at is you. I can't wave a magic wand and fix that for you. If you want to smoke cigarettes and get lung cancer, I'm not going to stop you. But I also can't help you. It's sort of like you have to help yourself. And if you're not willing to help yourself, but you still want the end result of helping yourself, when you figure out how that works, please let me know. Because that sounds great to me. I would love to do whatever the hell I want and just let somebody else clean up my mess. But unfortunately, the world doesn't work that way unless you're extremely wealthy and can pay servants. So when I'm working, setting up a computer for a customer, I am essentially doing everything I can do that the customer can provide. Like I said, if they don't know where the installer is, I can always go online and download the installer from the manufacturer. But the product key, I can't help them. That's a private financial transaction. You know, I don't have power of attorney. So I would say let's just keep your old computer running. And let's also set up the new computer. You could get like a KVM switch to use the same keyboard, video, and mouse and just switch between the two computers. And give yourself as much time as you need until you're ready to fully shut the other one down and retire it. If that's 2 weeks or 2 years, I don't care. You can bounce between them until you're ready finally to shut the other one down. No corporations work this way. No professional organization that hires people has a system like that because they'd be out of business. And for you to do that at home, it's just a lack of responsibility. And it only affects you. It has no effect on me or anybody else. If you want to do that to yourself, you're free and legal. It's all free and legal for you to just sabotage yourself. And I can tell you, you shouldn't sabotage yourself, and then you don't have to listen. But don't expect a different result. Otherwise, you're unreasonable. So, you know, I'm here to help people, but some people don't want to exert any effort. They want you to do everything. They want to pay nothing. And it's just, the world doesn't work like that. People don't work for free, or they'll do a little bit for free, but then you push it too far and they won't do anything for you ever again. So be careful. Once we have the system set up with everything the customer wants, At that point, it's just a matter of the customer getting used to it. Sometimes some things are moved and they don't like their icons in certain places. That's all personal, emotional stuff. I don't get involved in it. It's your problem. I can't read your mind. I don't know how you feel. You have to figure it out, because the only way the icons got to where they are in your screen or the wallpaper, you put it there. I didn't do it. You did it. So if you did it before, why are you complaining about doing it again? You're the only one who did that. I don't remember how I did it. If it's important to you, you'll figure it out, because you obviously knew how to do it. I don't know how you did it. Only you know. And if you can't remember, well, there's one way to jog that memory. Sit down and start using your mouse and keyboard. You've figured it out before, you'll figure it out again. And sometimes when talking to these clients, I sound like a parent talking to a 4-year-old. And it's puzzling to me to see a lack of sort of pride. Like, I don't need your help for that, Carey. I don't need you to move icons for me. That's condescending. No, quite often it's the opposite. I had a customer reach out to me and said, the monitor, I have 2 monitors and one of them stopped working. Like, I'm not even getting a power light out of it. What do I do? What would you say if somebody asked you that question? Should be pretty obvious, right? No matter what your technical level is, the answer should be universally the same. But yet they'll still call and ask anyway. Maybe they're hoping that they'll have some miracle solution. I can wave a magic wand and bring their monitor back to life. If I'm believing what they're telling me over the telephone or in an email, that their monitor won't power on anymore and they've checked all the plugs and it's been working fine for years, there's only one answer. You have to replace the monitor. That's it. If your monitor's under warranty, you may pursue with the manufacturer. Or if they bought the monitor from me, which they did not do, then you would take it up with me to get you a replacement if you're under warranty. But if you go and buy a monitor, you'll have it before the end of the day, plug it in, the problem's solved, and you're under a new warranty for that new monitor. It's just a wasted support call. But it's not hurting anybody. I think they're hoping for like some Hail Mary answer. Nope, based on what you told me, unless I get over there and see it with my own eyes, I'm assuming everything you're telling me is accurate. And if it is, there's only one solution. And it doesn't matter who you ask. The solution will always be the same. You must replace it. Now, if you want me to replace it, I can get a monitor for you. Tell me what you want, what size, what resolution, what color, and I'll bring it over to your office, deliver it, charge you for that service plus the cost of the monitor. Or you can hop on Amazon and you can order one you like that matches yours. So if you have 2 monitors, you ideally want them both to be the same make and model, so you don't have resolution or color differences between them. Or in this case, it was an office. There's a lot of computer parts in the office. Is there a monitor that you can, maybe there was an employee that used to sit over here and that employee left the company and it's been abandoned. That office is just spare space and there's a computer and a monitor on the desk in that office. Why don't you just go grab one of those monitors and plug it in, and that'll at least get you by. But none of this should be anything other than obvious by just looking around and thinking, geez, what should I do? So part of my job is also to just talk common sense to people. And I think they already know the answer, but they're just looking to confirm it. And it bothers me because I really do want to help them, but I can't. There's nothing I can do. If they want a monitor working right now, get in your car, go to Best Buy and buy it. Or look around the office and borrow a monitor or steal a monitor from another desk. That's it. Real easy. Just looking in the chat here. Let me pop back over here because I left this at the desktop. It's probably downloading some updates whether we like it or not in the background, but that's okay. Let's see what it's doing. We are activated, right? Let me just verify that we have a Windows activation. I'll just come down here and just start typing the word activation. Activation settings, close enough. It shows that we are active and that it is Windows 11 Pro. So here's what I want to do. I want to take my Windows 11 installation media, which I've shown you all how to make this free and legally directly from Microsoft, and using Rufus to convert the downloaded image to a flash drive, we can bypass the Microsoft Online account requirement. You could also circumvent all the security settings if you want to. You could eat a spoonful of poison. Just because Rufus offers you the poison doesn't mean you should be taking it, but I'm not going to stop you. There's two options in Rufus that I select, which is one, to not force a requirement for a Microsoft account, and two, to not automatically enable encryption on Windows 11 Home, which it'll often do by default without telling you. All of the other options in Rufus, I think, are harmful, dangerous, ill-advised, and you get what you deserve if you pick them. You may not realize that karma doesn't always happen instantly. Sometimes it takes a few months. And most often than not, people, the end users, will blame Microsoft when they just made bad decisions. And selecting those options in Rufus that avoid security or Windows 11 requirements, with the exception of those two things I mentioned, are hobbyist activities, and they will get you fired in corporate America. That is a serious unauthorized violation that jeopardizes everybody's job at the company. And for you to be so selfish and disrespectful is to not follow the rules. Everybody that's on the clock is expected to follow the same rules. It isn't going to last long for you in this career. You're not going to last long in this career. What you do at home, have fun. So with that in mind, I'm just passing on the information I was taught with the consequences that I faced. You don't get to make up policies. Unless that's your job is to follow the policies the same as all the other workers. You don't get to think freely for yourself in a better way. If you want to present that in a meeting and ask for a presentation to discuss the pros and cons, the primary benefits and costs and savings, and you're willing to put all that effort into it to convince the bosses that that should be the new policy, that would be the procedure you go through to get permission. You just don't get to do whatever you feel like when you're on the clock. You do what you're told, and you follow the rules the same as everybody else on the clock. If you can't do that, then stay at home and just do what you want. But I don't know how you pay your bills. That's not my business. But let me go ahead and let's reinstall Windows 11. Let's do it clean install. And let's see if we can find drivers for this thing. I'm not going to back up the drivers on this. Because what happens if you're just a regular consumer? You don't know how to back up drivers. You don't know anything about drivers. You don't even know what a driver is. And somebody online said, oh, you should reinstall Windows. And you listen to them. You're going to find yourself with a computer that's not fully working when you're done in most cases. Then what are you going to do? You'll then be advised to go to the manufacturer's website and download the drivers. Even though you may not know what that means, you understand going to the website, looking for support, downloading and installing the drivers. Once all that's done, you go back through Windows updates, you start to reprogram, install all the programs, printers, and all that other stuff. You get to start over. Why anybody would want to start over? In the old days, we used to start over because there wasn't really much we could do to fix things. Today, it mostly fixes itself, and people starting over are basically saying, I don't know anything about computers. And that's okay. That's okay. If I didn't know anything about computers, I'd always start over because I don't know any better. It takes a long time. It's a lot of work. I don't want to work that hard, but that's the cost of ignorance. You just don't know any better. But you'll feel good about it because you didn't have to ask for any help. You did it on your own. But if you had asked for help, you probably would have found out a couple clicks in the mouse and you'd have been done. You wouldn't have had to start over. So ignorance is bliss. People don't know there are other ways, and they want to be independent and they want to do it themselves. So they end up taking 3 times longer, making a job far more complex. Rather than learning how to fix the computer, their solution is just wipe it and reinstall it. And that was pretty standard operational procedure for Windows XP. Once a year, reinstalling XP was pretty commonplace, pretty common technical knowledge. But these days, the operating system has evolved to a point now where it really does well at self-maintaining. And undoing issues is actually relatively simple if you could be bothered to get educated. And there's no excuse with chatbots, like AI chatbots and YouTube and all the how-tos. If you could be bothered to educate yourself, in most cases, you will find the right answers. Doing this is an extreme old school method for people who don't know what they're doing with modern technology. But because those people exist, and no matter how much I talk about them, they're not going away. They're not going to hear this and think, oh, I should do that. No. They'll say, you're nuts, Carey. That always works for me. Why would I want to change? Well, good. Spend 3 times more effort and start over again and reconfigure everything from scratch. I don't care. I don't know why you'd choose that, but it is a choice. So since so many people make this choice, especially those who don't really understand computers, what would happen if we were one of those people and we went to reinstall Windows 11? That's why I'm not backing up the drivers. I want to see, will we be able to reasonably obtain the drivers from the manufacturer? And will they be the right drivers? Will there be complete drivers? Will some drivers be missing? This is how we find out, because this can make or break whether or not I recommend a computer. This is also a form of support. Let's turn it on. Let's go back over to this output here. And I'm going to hit delete key. I don't know which key it is, but I'm going to try hitting delete and guessing. Nope, not the right key. That's okay. We're going to go ahead and let this boot up into Windows, and we'll do the advanced startup to tell it to boot from the flash drive, just on the next boot only. And that way we can begin to reset this computer, completely erase everything, all the partitions. And oh look, Windows updates did download. Isn't that hilarious? I actually find it's faster. All right, let me try F2. Every time I have an opportunity at a reboot, I'm going to just try a different key until I figure out how to get in here. Hey, F2 worked. Okay, very good. So we don't have to wait for those updates. We're going to go over to save and exit, and we're going to find the USB drive, which in this case is the SanDisk. We want the first partition and hit enter. That tells the BIOS I want to start off the flash drive. Start there, not the internal drive. And it looks the same, doesn't it? But what happens next will look different, because what we're going to see now is a Windows 11 setup. So what we're going to do is no differently than if we just built a brand new computer. And this works the same on all mini computers, desktops, laptops, all Windows computers. Hit next, next. We're going to install Windows 11 and agree we're going to erase everything on this drive. Now we can do it because obviously we have backups because we're not delusioned into thinking we don't need them. And the machine's brand new and we haven't yet spent any time invested in trying to configure something that I don't like the way it's set up, so I can eliminate that right out of the gate. If you want something that you can plug in and immediately start using today, this machine is designed for that, and you will just have to download a bunch of updates. I think this is faster. When the version of Windows is so old, it's actually faster to just reinstall the new version. You see all these partitions on disk 0? We want all those removed. So one by one, we'll select each partition on disk 0 only until we're left with only one disk 0 in the list. See that? Now there's only one disk 0. That's where we're installing Windows. Hit next. It says, okay, you're ready to install. You sure you want to do it? Yep. I could do without that screen, but I don't know why Microsoft added that. It's sort of too late. When I hit delete, it was gone. It's not like it waited. And that's it. Now it's repartitioning and reformatting that drive. and installing Windows 11 25H2 with all of the May updates from the second Tuesday of this month already embedded into it. I did not do that. All I did was go to the Microsoft website and I asked to download Windows 11. And I used something called Microsoft's Media Creation Tool. And that includes that month's updates, typically about 2 to 3 days after the updates are released on Tuesday. By Thursday or Friday, the Microsoft Media Creation Tool is changed and you have to re-download the new version of the tool. Sometimes Microsoft doesn't even change the version number. So you just got to trust me. You download the tool. If you use the tool you downloaded from before, you're going to get the version you downloaded from before. It's all hard-coded into the tool, which gets updated monthly now with all the latest updates already slipstreamed in. That means when your install is finished, there won't be many updates waiting for us. Maybe just a couple and mostly security type stuff. So while that's running, let me bring camera 1 back and we'll put it in a corner. And if you have any questions for me, this would be a great time for you to ask. Katrina H says hello, joining us in our chat room. There's Olaf saying hello as well. Mark Baggett renews membership, now a member for 48 months. Right on. Thank you, Mark. Slavko joins us and says hello. Alan with a Y also saying hello here in our chat. Love electric stuff. Right on. He says you can't even get the RAM and storage that's in this for $250. That's almost like you're getting the rest of the computer for free. Agreed. BNJ wants to know if I considered covering some of the NVIDIA small PCs. Well, we have to purchase the computers, right? So if there's, like, give me a make and model of the NVIDIA small PC you're referring to, because what I think you're referring to are high-end developer workstations that are not for consumers. We don't review those here. We don't review servers. We have had a couple of really high-end, you know, $2,000, $3,000 AI workstations, but I've never met anybody in our chat room. As far as I know, I don't think anybody in the chat room is running a large language model locally. And if they are, I can count them on one hand. So there's not an audience for it, for me anyway. It's a very niche product. It'd be like if I only wanted to talk about forklifts. And you're like, well, I came here for car reviews. And I'm like, well, it's kind of a car. But if you're not using a forklift for any reason, I don't think the video would be of interest to you. But there is a market for that. It's just nowhere near as big as the market for cars. You know, how many forklifts do you think are sold every year versus how many pickup trucks, for example? But if there is a NVIDIA small computer that is affordable, that is intended to, you know, be a standardized computer for ordinary use, I'm not aware of its existence. I think you're talking about very specialty machines, very niche machines for developers. As consumers, which is what most of my audience is, not all of it, but most of it, you're consuming what the developers make. And the developers are very much online in discussions and tweeting and doing all this other stuff that has no impact on you as a consumer. Whatever they're complaining about, you know, running Claude or OpenClaw, whatever else, that's a very tiny little group of people that are the people that are making the things that you and I are using on our computers. So they have different tools. You know, you don't need an electric ratchet if you're not doing work on a car. You just drive the car. And the mechanics might say, well, do you like Bosch electric ratchets over DeWalt or Makita? Who cares? Unless you're in that line of work, what do you care? I'm not even sure how we would test one of those, because it's again, how would a car reviewer review a forklift? It's not what I do for a living. I've never done that for a living. But if there is some other NVIDIA Mini PC that I'm just not aware of that does intend to be for consumers, I don't know that exists. You'd have to educate me on that. But I appreciate the question. It's a fair question. A computer isn't a computer isn't a computer. They're not all the same. Some are designed for very specific purpose. And developers that earn tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in salary can easily afford the investment of a machine designed to help them work more effectively, more efficiently. For a hobbyist, most hobbyists can't afford it, wouldn't use it to its fullest extent. And the average consumer wouldn't spend anywhere near that much money on a computer. They'll buy what's cheapest, not what's best. The Mac Geek says, hello, I enjoy your tutorials. Thanks for all you do. Well, thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that. Especially coming from a Mac Geek, because we don't do anything Mac related here. Never have, never will. Not my cup of tea. Andy agrees a reinstall of Windows 11 is much faster than waiting for all the updates, especially if the Mini has an older version of Windows. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And if you're worried about any bloatware or spyware, malware, you can eliminate all that anxiety. You don't have to download malware bytes and run a scan for an hour and a half. This happens so much faster. Do it while it's new, and you won't be discouraged about losing everything. Where you're discouraged is like, oh, I want to use this immediately. I'm impatient and demanding. So let me just set it up in a house of cards that'll tumble over time. That's a choice. Not one I agree with, but you could totally do that if you want to. We're going to take our time and do it right, or I'm just not going to do it. If I can't do it right, I have no interest in being involved. I don't want that on my record of being sloppy or half-assed. All right. We are finally at our out-of-box experience, which is where we started with this. The difference being that we're using a US-created media installation tool. So the very first question we get asked is an international question. Where are you in the world? Because they sell these mini PCs to countries all over the world. But because we downloaded a media creation tool with a version of Windows specifically for the United States, I don't have to answer that question. And therefore, there are some little idiosyncrasies within Windows itself on the international installer versus the United States specific installer, which for me, the one who's going to get called with support questions, I want all of my customers to use the same version of Windows, so I don't have to find out if they've got a different version that's related to the problem they're having. That makes my job much more difficult, makes me slower, and I would rather just everybody has the same thing and I can help you faster. Most people want to be helped faster because they want to get back to work and they don't want a giant bill for my time. So US, yes. US again for the keyboard, no other keyboard language. Let's connect. I don't have internet. It never asked me for a product key. It never asked me for which version of Windows. Did you notice that? That's because that's all built into the BIOS. So I'm going to say my username is user, my password is blank. I'm doing everything the same way I just did it. And I always do it the same way. If it's a laptop, a desktop, a computer we built, a computer we've upgraded, it's always the same. So we have consistency when customers call with questions. The minute customers start doing bizarre stuff that's not normal, it makes helping them difficult. It doesn't mean we can't help them, but it's going to take more time to research what the heck they did, why they did it, and how to undo it or repair what they've done. That's the freedom of owning a Windows computer. You can't really do that on an Apple computer. So if you want that reassurance, buy Apple, you'll be happier. You'll spend more, but on the other hand, you won't find yourself making bad decisions because Apple won't let you. So with that in mind, I specialize in what I see and experience the most over time. So if somebody's doing something that no other customer is doing, some piece of software, I often don't have the answers. I've had customers that want to know questions about Plex. I've never used Plex.
I don't know the first thing about it. But if they want to pay me to learn, I'm happy to connect remotely and go through it under the condition the customer knows I don't have any experience with this, but I know how to use Google and I have common sense. I can probably figure it out. But somebody who knows what they're doing could probably do it in 5 minutes, and it might take me 2 or 3 hours. And that knowledge won't help me in my business unless anybody else calls me about Plex. But if they were doing that, I would already have the knowledge and would need to be looking it up, now would I? So me needing that knowledge in the future is highly unlikely and therefore won't be retained. And then in the months or years that follows, if someone says, hey, I'm having a problem with Plex, the Plex software will have changed. The interface will look different. The options will be different. And I will have long since forgotten whatever the heck I did to fix it. So I start over again. But I'm still willing to do it. It just set the expectations before we get started that I'm not going to pretend to know something I don't know. And I'm not going to make promises that I can't stand behind. All right, let me get my Windows 11 flash drive out of here. Let's put that away. Now let's take a look at our device manager. I'm still not plugged into the internet yet, but I want to see how many device drivers are missing on a clean Windows 11 install on a 4-year-old computer, or however old this is, 5 years old. Just 3. It looks like maybe a Wi-Fi driver and a chipset driver. I think that's all we're missing. So what I'm going to do first and foremost is make sure that we have internet, meaning there's a driver for the LAN connection. If you look down here in the bottom right corner, you see that little globe? That shows us we're not connected. We're not online. So let's plug in a cable and watch that bottom right corner. If the driver loaded, we should see, yep, flashing icon. Perfect. Because we need that driver to get all the other drivers. Perfect. Now let's go to Windows Update and see if Windows Update will provide us with additional drivers. If we're lucky, now see here it says you need to activate Windows. Don't worry about that just yet. In theory, it should auto-activate in the background without telling us while we're doing our first round of updates. We're going to verify that. I also like to turn a few features on while I'm waiting, so I'll go through these options, and I always turn these on for myself and all of my customers universally. Nobody's ever had a problem with it. It saves me support calls. Look at this, 6 optional updates. We want all 6. Don't be bothered to read them. Don't second guess what the computer tells you it needs. The computer knows better than you do. So go ahead and download and install. Now, in the days of Windows XP, this would be a different story, but then we didn't get drivers this way. But all I'm trying to tell you is that the technology is continuing to evolve and require less decision making on behalf of the end user. Some users didn't get the memo and they're still trying to do things from 20 years ago. And it may end up working for you, but you're working way harder. You could have been done a lot sooner with a lot less effort by simply educating yourself with the new methods. And that's what I'm trying to demonstrate. Is I don't want you to take my word for it. I'm showing you live and unscripted exactly how this works. So other people online, they'll sit there and talk with confidence, but they have no way to back up what they're saying. And if they can't back it up by making a video or proving it to you, you should not believe them, in my opinion. Now I'm going to change my resolution while I'm waiting because it looks like we're in 4K here. Let me just, whoopsie. It looks like it activated. I meant to change my resolution and I accidentally went into personalization instead of display settings. And I just went with it. Well, let me just check this while I'm here. So if I go down here and type in activation, I think it already activated. Otherwise, it wouldn't have allowed me to change that wallpaper. Yep. So it gave us a message momentarily that we weren't activated because it had not yet communicated completely with Windows updates. And as it's communicating with Windows updates, it's sending the serial number of our motherboard, which is tied to our product key, which gets reassigned back to us automatically without telling us. Things have changed. There's a prime example. You couldn't do that with Windows XP. You couldn't do that with Windows 7. So you never need your product key. Once it's activated, it stays tied to your motherboard for the life of the computer, and don't think you can move it. So back to display settings. I want to change my resolution. Right click, display settings is what I meant to click. And you see how this is shaded out right here? It won't let me change it. And just as I said that, you see the screen blinking out? That's Windows Update downloading a video driver. It has to disable our video driver to add the new video driver and then start using it. And now this isn't shaded out anymore. I couldn't have timed that any better. That's going on in the background. I didn't do anything. I want 1920 by 1080. And I want to keep these changes. Close this out. And then we're going to go back to Windows Update, because even though I closed the Windows Update window, it's still downloading and installing updates. It doesn't have to be, the window does not have to be open and on display. If I close this, it has no impact on what it's doing. Whoops. If I hit the X and close this out, it's still running and downloading no differently. It's just hiding it from us. Now, I'm not a big fan of having things hidden from me, but while we're waiting, let me change or check our power settings, because I don't want the computer going to sleep on me while we're live. That's frustrating. And you see this turn off display after 5 minutes. That's way too aggressive. I'll set that to 3 hours. Put the computer to sleep is great if you're trying to save your batteries. If you don't have batteries to save, there's no reason for you to be putting a computer to sleep. Now, when I save the settings, these other options come up. And this one in particular, choose what the power buttons do. I want the power button to shut the computer down when I press and release it. When I say shut down, I want it to effectively click start and click shut down and go through the shutdown process, not just shut it down like I pulled the power cable. That is a very safe way to shut down your computer. If you just tap the button and let it go with this setting, it'll shut down properly. There is no more sleep button on computers today, so this does nothing. I'm just going to tell it to do nothing anyway. Doesn't make a difference. It wasn't going to do anything regardless. And then we're going to go back to, I don't know, we go back to control panel. And I don't know, system and security, what's in here? Yes, nothing. I was trying to find a shortcut back to Windows Update, but I don't want to find it while we're live. I'll just do Windows Update, check for updates, that's it. And you'll see that it's been running this whole time and continues to download updates. And then when we reboot, we'll check our device manager and see if there's any more missing device drivers. One of the things I'm going to want regardless is the AMD Adrenalin software. And if this was an Intel computer, I'd want the AMD chipset software. And not necessarily the ones that come from the manufacturer, because they may be out of date. I want to get it directly from Intel or AMD to get the latest and greatest for the best performance, security, and reliability. It's all free. So to get ahead of that, let's try going to the manufacturer's website and see if they even have a website and if they offer drivers. I don't even know. Probably something you should look into before you buy, at least if it's a brand you're not familiar with. So this is called Glorlin. Glorlin. It brings up Amazon. Okay. And it brings up CareyHolzman videos. That's it. You're not going to find many content creators doing this because most content creators do not buy the products they're reviewing. That's how you can tell. When a bunch of product reviews come out about the same time, including from me and from others, it's because we all receive the product for free. And we may have been told or asked, would you please hold off reviewing this until a certain date? Sometimes there are contracts that are signed. We don't sign any contracts like that. YouTube, GT10, hey, that's us. Is that us? Is that somebody else? Oh, well, here's a 4-minute review. That's got to be useful, right? They probably don't have the product at all. It's just an AI showing photographs from the website and an AI voice narrating. This is trash. This is AI slop. This is what I'm competing against. Carey slop versus AI slop. Real tech reviews. If it's called real tech reviews and it's 1.5 minutes long, it's not. I think they're missing a word. I think it should say not real tech review. This is all a lie. This is all just AI slop. And I don't know if Glorlin's behind it. I don't know who's creating it. But I know Gatorly had a website and they're the same company, so I'm going to look for Gatorly. see if we find a website this way. Well, apparently they have some pretty bad search engine optimization, because there was, Mara always puts the links in our video description below the video, and I don't recall seeing a website for the manufacturer on this one. Let's type in Glorlin driver download. That's how I would typically find drivers for any manufacturer. I don't know what BOSS is. Glorlin GT103 Starry Hope. What is this? Just a review page. Okay. I would hope the manufacturer would take the effort to make sure that they're easy to find, but it looks like they haven't gotten that far yet. Now this says BOSS, support GT100. What is BOSS? Decline that. Oh, Windows 10 drivers. Oof, that's up to date, huh? He said sarcastically. Well, that's not good, is it? Give me just a minute. Let me go back over here for a second. Let me come over here and let me think about this for a minute. Namanjapo says hello from Serbia. Frankie B joins us and says hello. There's Buster popping in saying hello. He says the temperature in Edinburgh right now is 56 degrees Fahrenheit or 13.3 degrees Celsius. I also see Frankie B says hello. Our Fred Buster said he's in a little pain at the moment. He's only had about 5 hours of sleep. Well, get some rest, my friend. I hope you feel better tomorrow. Thank you for stopping in and saying hello, and thank you for your continued support and your generosity, as always. Glorlin drivers. What are we going to do for Glorlin/Glorlin drivers? I know what I can do. I can pull up my video from the Glorlin review. So I'm going to search YouTube for CareyHolzman. And the word Glorlin, and that should pull up my review of this sister model. Now the Glorlin model was called a GT103. This is a Glorlin GT103. I wonder if they're exactly the same. You know, I didn't bother checking before I ordered it. I don't understand why a single company would use two different names for the exact same product and have to double up on everything, but let's see if there's an official link here. It's glorlinpc.com. Okay. So I found it. Essentially, what I need to do is go to, jump back over here. And up here, I'll type in glorlinpc.com. Yeah, they need to fix their search engine optimization. It's clearly not working. But you see up here at the top left, it says Glorlin and Glorlin. Why? It's not that they're one company called like Hewlett Packard or Bell and Howell. It's two companies. Glorlin is one company, Glorlin is another brand. It's not called Glorlin and Glorlin. So it's a little misleading. Some of these models will say Glorlin, and some of these models will say Glorlin. And when the models, if like the GT103 is the same, regardless if it says Glorlin or Glorlin, then I don't understand why would they make the exact same PC and just change the label and then sell it from the same website at the same price with the same specs. It just seems to be adding confusion, and it may be an illusion to how many products they actually sell. Oh, we don't sell 4 products, we sell 8, because we take 4 of them and name them differently. Other than that, they're the same. Is that what's going on? Right here, there's a download button. Let's click on that. And let's see if we have downloads for the 103. So that's the GT100. That's the GT103. That's what we have. It says they make that with either a 7430U processor or they make it with a 5300U processor. We've got this version of it, but apparently it's the same driver regardless. I hit the driver download. It takes us to Google Drive where I hit download again. The file size is 1.1 gig, download, and that should start in the top right corner. And that should contain all of our drivers. So we don't need anything, any special tools or skill set or experience to fend for ourselves. We don't have to call support or email them and wait for assistance. We can get it done now if we have the knowledge. And we don't have to pay somebody to do it for us if we have the knowledge and we're willing to do it ourselves. It's just a matter of clicking the mouse. That's all it is. It's where to click, right? That's where the trick is. So once this downloads, what I'm going to do is extract it. This is almost done. There it goes. Open file and extract all. Extract. In the meantime, we're still downloading and installing updates in the background. Now it looks like, I don't know what that said, installation instructions say, please follow the instructions carefully. Option 1, install the graphics driver only. We don't need that. Navigate to the first folder, double click install.bat. Once completed, navigate to number 2, double click install.bat. Or you can install all the drivers. If you want to just install a complete set of drivers with one set of click, you can do that in the device manager. Depending on which network adapter model you have, you can automate the process, but you've got to know which one to use yourself. It looks like the network adapters are one of possibly 5 different models, depending on what was available for manufacturers at the time it was made. So they're not going to shut the factory down because they can't get a particular network card. They'll replace it with an equal network card or better if there's any component shortages to keep the factory open. And they also say if you have any support questions, reach us at support@GatorliPC.com, not Glorlin. Isn't that interesting? So I don't know why the Glorlin name exists. It doesn't make any sense. It's just adding confusion. There is no GlorlinPC.com as far as I know. We can try it, but I'm pretty sure GlorlinPC.com, it should auto forward to Gatorli, and it doesn't. So this is what they're causing harm to themselves. Because if you're a consumer and only knows of Glorlin and you don't know of Gatorli, you're going to find yourself without any support or help. When in fact the support and help is there under a different name, how would you know that? And this would be easily solved by buying this domain and then forwarding it to Gatorli.com. But that's on them. You know, if they're not going to do it, you know, that's their problem. It's not my problem. I'm going to close all these windows and see how our update's doing. Still downloading this preview update. This can take a while. In the meantime, if I look in our device manager, it looks like everything it needed, it received from Windows Update, and we don't actually need the drivers at all. I would still install the AMD Adrenalin software, and I don't have to wait for a preview update. I can do that now by typing in AMD Adrenalin. This processor may no longer be supported, though, from AMD. Let's find out and see what happens. Just say download software. You have to accept the cookies or it won't let you download, I guess. So try again, download the software, download the drivers. This is a pretty quick little download up here. Done. Open the file and run the file. This is from AMD, the manufacturer of the CPU, which is also the manufacturer of the graphics card and the chipset. So all that should be built in if AMD supports the CPU or the GPU side. Let's see.
Yes, it does offer us the graphics driver and the chipset driver. Accept and install. That's a pretty easy rebuild. There's not a lot of proprietary or unusual equipment that's not already provided by Windows, or drivers are not provided by Windows Update, which we will see on like bleeding edge models, leading edge, something much newer that yet hasn't had enough time yet to integrate into Windows Update. And people who buy those, you know, they're more expensive, they're higher end, and generally speaking, the people who buy those are more technically savvy than people buying the cheapest thing. The people buying the cheapest thing, they're more simplistic in how they use a computer, and they know that. Because their logic is, why would I waste money buying, you know, $1,000 computer? What a waste of money. Whereas the technically savvy person says, why would you waste money buying a $300 computer? Why would you waste money? See what I'm getting at? So usually the more expensive computer has a more tech savvy owner in most cases. So it makes sense to me that these cheaper computers would also be less reliable, or reliant upon the end user understanding where to get drivers and things that aren't provided automatically. And there are many PC manufacturers that do sell sub $300 computers that do require that level of knowledge, and you can understand what the customer experience is like. Pretty easy to know what's going to happen, right? Just give it time. All right, with that install done, I hit finish, and then again, it's still downloading updates in the background while we're doing this at the same time. Minimize that. Skip this setup here, and this tells us our current version of drivers and software right here. I don't see any option to check for updates. AMD remains inconsistent on the Adrenalin software. How it looks on your screen depends on which CPU you have. AMD remains inconsistent in their software development, and just because you see an option on your screen doesn't mean everybody with AMD gets it, even if they're still using Ryzen processors and everything else. There is no consistency from AMD on software. They are not a software company, and it shows. Active profile default, enable performance mode. And why not? All right, I don't know what that's going to do. With that, we can clear out these notifications. So we already had all the drivers anyway, but these would just be newer ones being more efficient. And I don't think we need any of the downloaded drivers here. And certainly delete the zip file. See the little zipper on that little folder? Because we extracted and expanded the contents into this folder. This is not a folder. This is a file. And you'd know that if extensions were turned on. It bothers me that Microsoft hides extensions. So by just clicking on Options, View, and show, where is it? Hide extensions for known file types is a dangerous, dangerous setting for most computer users who don't know any better. When we expose that, now we can see it's a .zip file. Now, of course, it did tell us over here under Type, but most people don't read this. Most people are looking right here. And so I think Microsoft has an extreme security blunder by defaulting those extensions to being hidden, because you can't tell a file folder from a file from a virus from a PDF file. You're relying on the icon. And those two icons are so similar, a lot of people don't even notice they're different. And they can't understand why they have two folders with the same name. How is that possible? Because because Microsoft decided you're too dumb to see the full name. It would only confuse you. So instead they confuse you by hiding the actual name. Who's ever responsible at Microsoft for that decision, I hope they're no longer in their position at the company, because that is profoundly dangerous. But if you're watching this channel, you know how to change that setting so that you can be more in control and understanding what's going on. That's my opinion anyway. Why is that not opening now? I'm going to close the window. Check this out. I'm going to go over here, and I'm just going to go back to Windows Update.
I don't necessarily have to be patient. I can just close it and reopen it, and it didn't interfere with anything. This is a painfully slow download. We've experienced this before, and I'm just not going to sit here and wait for it. So let's just go ahead and restart the computer now. And while it restarts, if you have any other questions for me, I think that pretty much wraps it up. We've already opened this computer up. This is exactly the other GT103 from Glorlin. It opens the same way, it has the same contents, everything's the same. I think the only difference is, and again, I'd have to go back and look at that original video of Glorlin on the GT103. Was it a 74 processor or a 53? Maybe that's the difference. One's the cheaper, lower end processor, one's more mid-range. Let me take a quick look. Oh, and that booted fast before I could even get over here. So we've done the GT100 and we've done the GT103 from Glorlin. This is our very first Glorlin. The GT103 that we reviewed is neither of the CPUs. It's a Ryzen 7 6800H. That's interesting because the website, the Glorlin website, I don't think shows a GT103 with a 60. It says it's a 7430U or a 5300U. It is neither. So their website, oh, wait a minute. They have another GT103. They have 4 GT103s. This is a big marketing error because what you're doing is you're confusing customers. How can you have a computer with the same model that's completely different on the inside? So there's a, let me show you. Let's go back over to Glorlin PC. You can follow along with me if you want. And we're going to write to them about this. I'll make sure Mara reaches out and lets them know this is profoundly confusing. And why would they do this to their customers? Why does the Glorlin name exist when there's no website for it, number one? Number two, why are there 4 different GT103s? Shouldn't there be a 103.1, a 103.2, a 103.3? There's an endless array of arrangements of numbers and letters to identify the different specifications between the models. Using the same model number but changing the specs is a level of detail most consumers will never understand or even know to look for or know what's preferred. They don't know any better. So unless you're willing to educate the consumer, that's more work you got to do to the website. It's just a lot easier. Change your model name. So let's go to glorlinpc.com. glorlinpc.com. And then let's look under download and check this out. See, this GT103 says it covers the 7430U or the 5300U, right? So that's it for the GT103. Then it goes to the GT105. You see how they're alphabetically, numerically placed from 100 being first, then 103, then 105. You follow the logic, it makes sense until you come back over here, and all of a sudden you've got 101 over here, which should go between these two, and then you've got 103 again. So you've got it here and here. So they're the same? No. This says 7430U, 5300U, 6600H, 6800H. What? Why isn't there just another slash with 6600H and another slash with 6800H and put all 4 different versions of the GT103 together? And then we have another model made by Glorlin, which is a 5th version of the same model. So if they're going to go with this marketing, then you've got to put the work in the support and the description and the catalog to cover every product. Each product should have a unique name. Multiple products should not share the same model number. They share the same manufacturer. Can you imagine if every Ford truck was an F-150? No more Ranger, no more Lightning. They're just all F-150s. And then you just have to look at the details to figure out if you got 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive, 6-cylinder, 8-cylinder, 4-cylinder, right? It's just no difference in the marketing, just Ford F-150. So stupid. So they're making a gross mistake here. An error in judgment is what I would call it. And I think they're still learning, but it's nice that they do have a website up, because when we first reviewed them, they did not have a website, and we wrote on Amazon reviews, and that's what got their attention. And they reached out to us, and they were genuinely and sincerely asking what they could do to be better. Now, what's interesting is they do show a Glorlin.com. What happens if we try and go there? So why is Gatorly not Gatorly.com? It's Gatorly PC, but Glorlin isn't Glorlin PC. It's like they cannot find a standard. They can't stick to one decision. They're making everything up as they go, flying by the seat of their pants, and it's confusing to me, let alone to an end user, to try and figure out what are these people doing. They're just making up things. There's no consistency. Let's try Glorlin.com. If I spell it right. Because I couldn't find it. Does that bring up anything? It works. There we go. But they should have also bought glorlinpc.com. So just in case somebody types that in, it'll auto-forward them. It's like $7 to register a domain. What are they thinking? But if they want to continue to use two different names, they've got to double up their support. They got to double up their website. They got to double up all their marketing. That's double the amount of work. And if it's the same product with a different name, why are you doing that? It brings in the same profit. It has the same sales. Stick to one name. They just can't seem to make up their mind. And this is very, very confusing to end users over what's real and what's not real. There's no consistency. So they do it one way, then they do it another way. They put the model numbers in order under download, and then they don't put the model numbers in order. And they mix two different CPUs with the same model number instead of giving it its own model number. And then they give the models two different names when there's nothing different between them other than the names. Pick a lane. For the love of all that's holy, pick a lane. So I do think they make a decent product, okay? I don't think this is the best mini PC you can buy, but it certainly seems like a really good value for the dollar. And if you want that kind of support and consistency, expect to spend more and buy from bigger names like Dell, HP, Lenovo, for example, or Asus and others. You're not going to find a computer this well equipped at this price from any of those manufacturers ever. Never, ever. The only way you get there is by dealing with more amateurish startups. And I would say they're an amateurish startup, but they are eager to get better. That's why they, credit where credit's due. They did email us asking what they could do better, and we weren't shy about telling them. And for the most part, they've done the bare minimum, which is more than most others in this field. Their competitors, a lot of them, like ADreamer, can't be bothered to respond to us. So they just blatantly lie that they have support, and when you email them, they don't respond to you. So at least they're not lying. So they're better than ADreamer, in my opinion. If I had $280 to spend on a computer, and I had a choice between ADreamer and Gatorly/Glorlin, I'm going to take that Glorlin/Gatorly every single time. I won't select ADreamer ever again. Because even if they're not quite up to snuff with their support and consistency, if they continue to show that they want to get better, they will fix this. But when they don't talk to you at all, like ADreamer, and they won't communicate, I want nothing to do with them. Because clearly, they want nothing to do with me. Message received, loud and clear. I will return the favor right back to you. Because that's apparently what you want. So again, while Gatorly and Glorlin have reached out to us, they did not send us this computer. We bought it. And we bought it using the funds from our members that keep us running on this channel. And without them, we would not have today's video. So a shout out and a thank you to all of those members in green you'll see in our chat room, plus many others that are members that are not available to join us in the chat room right now. This yellow sticker, I think, really needs to go over the Ethernet port, which is probably just telling us you should power it on without a connection to the network. Let me just read it. I'm pretty sure it's pretty boilerplate among all mini PC manufacturers. During system boot process, if you cannot log into your personal account, please turn off Wi-Fi and LAN, select the skip option, and log into your personal account in the system. So it's basically rephrasing. Don't plug it into the internet until you created your online, until you get to the desktop, just the way I showed you. So it's the same sticker with some different wording, but it's saying the same thing. Okay. I think that's going to wrap it up today. We wrapped this one up right on time, didn't we? So I'll stick around if you have questions for me. It's up to you now. If we wrap up the show or if we hang out a little bit, you guys decide. So if you have questions, this is the time to interact with me. Even if they're not related to this, I'll do my best to provide answers. The Great says hello. Welcome in, The Great. Frankie says, Carey, were you able to download drivers for the Mini PC? You had problems last video. So the last video that we did was, because the Google Drive said that it reached its leech limit. Yeah, that night, about 10 o'clock at night, I decided to try again, and it downloaded just fine. Corteva says, check Secure Boot. I personally don't think you should be turning Secure Boot on. I think that if you're in a large corporation and you've got a lot of employees, or you're in a business where employees are changing relatively routinely, or you're at a college, there's a lot of kids using the school campus computers, I would absolutely turn Secure Boot on. But for home users, I don't advise you to do it. See, a lot of home users, they don't know what they're doing, and they end up locking themselves out of their own computer. There may be security boot certificate issues after June 24th, which will not affect you if you did not turn on Secure Boot. And it may affect you if you have an older computer, especially one you purchased from AliExpress or a lesser known manufacturer that may not update their boot certificates. They should all do it, but maybe they don't. If you turn on Secure Boot, your computer isn't going to boot after June 24th if you don't get the security update due to the BIOS, and then you're screwed. So my advice is leave Secure Boot off for home user. If you're a home user, it's just creating an obstacle you're going to encounter if you ever want to boot to Linux or boot to a flash drive. You're just getting in your own way. Now, in the future, Secure Boot has the potential to be absolutely required. Windows 11 requires that you have the option, but it doesn't require you to enable it. Let's be clear. Windows 11 requires you have the ability, but it doesn't require you to enable that ability at this time. Nor am I second-guessing Microsoft's advice here. For the reasons I just mentioned, home users should avoid Secure Boot. Businesses should always enable Secure Boot. Mara says we've got an email.
There's a giant stain.
A splotch? A splotch of cat?
Yeah.
All over the couch? But again, if you want to turn Secure Boot on, I'm not telling you not to. I'm telling you why I'm not going to do it. That's all. You do what you want. Emails. Charlie Purdy sends us an Amazon gift card, and a generous one at that. Thank you so much, Charlie. He says this is for the channel and the community. You're the best, Charlie. Thank you so much. That's what keeps us going here. We'll use that Amazon gift card money to make another purchase so we can put something else here on the bench and talk to you honestly, unbiased, and impartially as a professional computer technician, as if you were my customer paying me for my time. And then if you're interested in buying any of these units when we're done reviewing them, send us an email. Our email address is right here on the screen. There. I guess I get to restart this again. And we handle any sort of emails like that as very personal, private. We don't discuss this stuff publicly. But that's how you can reach us. If you're aware of a very inexpensive mini PC somewhere around the $400 price range, we can afford to buy those. Let us know. See if that's something we can get in the future to review if we can afford to pay for it. Anything over about $500, we don't have the budget for it. But if you're thinking about buying something like that and you want to see if we're interested in reviewing it, we could buy it theoretically, do the review, and then sell it to you. Of course, we have to pay for shipping, and maybe take $100 or $200 off the price. We won't even make that back. It'll be a loss for us. But otherwise, we won't be able to review it at all. We just wouldn't have the budget. But if it ends up costing us about the same as what one of these cost us after we sell it for obviously less than what we paid, otherwise, why wouldn't somebody just go buy it new off Amazon, right? You get free shipping. We have to pay for a box. We have to pay for, these are about $40 to ship. And that negates taking $40 off of it, because then you're right back to the base price. So then we have to take another $40 or maybe $100 to $200 off, depending on what it takes to make the sale, and then recover with the money we recover to then put it back in the bank to buy another unit. But that's not making money, that's losing money. But as long as it's coming from the community, we spend it on the community, and we'll try to recover as much of it as we can after the fact. And if we can then sell the computer for less than it would cost you to buy it new, that's how you find out, by emailing us. We cannot ship outside of the United States. So if you're outside of the US, don't waste your time. And there's Charlie in the chat room. Hey, Charlie. Thank you again. Good to see you, my friend. Jim Kenny said, is Sable guarding your email? Yeah, she's the one who answers your email, too. She's very good. She's got to earn her keep here, you know. Very simply, keep the couch from floating away. Lay down in the middle of the stairs to make sure that you're always aware and paying attention so you don't hurt yourself. And if you do hurt yourself, that'll teach you. Pay attention next time. And then also answering your emails. I think that update that it wanted to finish was the preview update that finally installed. But let me just go back to Windows Update and check. Hit retry here. That's normal. Yeah, the preview update did say it completed. So there you go. We could have been sitting there waiting forever, and it was a reboot that actually caused it to speed up and finish. And it happened automatically in the background without us pushing it. Kind of like the cat, you know. If it's not the cat's idea, it's going to push back. Come here, let me pet you. No. I'll decide when you pet me. The Great says, is it warm there in Arizona? Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to get hotter. We've actually had a nice cool off towards the last half of May, but we're ramping up to over 100 degrees, and we will be there until October, probably late October. We will primarily have the next 4 months of just sweltering temperatures, but that's every year. And then once again, it kind of repeats that it completed. I'm going to check one more time. And yeah, we're up to date. It tells us right here. Ignore this down here. This up here says you're up to date. Perfect. Perfect. So I can run the Windows 11 optimizer, install VLC, you know, do those standard routine things I do. I could certainly run benchmarks like Crystal Disk Mark and, you know, let's do Crystal Disk Mark real quick. I'm not too worried about Cinebench, and I can run that after the show, but I am curious what speed or what performance of drive they've given us at this price point. I got to be honest, at this price point, I'm not expecting much. If it is NVMe, good enough. If it's SATA, I mean, they claim on the Amazon page that that's NVMe, so let's just take a minute to verify that while we're here. Right click, open source projector. USB drive. So I'm going to want VLC, and I'm going to want Uncle Carey's Windows 11 optimizer. We sell this, by the way. Links are in the video notes. And then for PC testing software, I want Crystal Disk Info to see who makes that drive. I want Crystal Disk Mark to see how it performs. And then after the show, I'll run Cinebench later tonight, because that's going to take nearly half an hour to get those results. And this isn't really designed for that kind of work, but just out of curiosity, how does it do? It's not going to be mind-bending, and I'm sure it's going to run exactly like any other chip of this same model, regardless of who makes it. So let's start with Crystal Disk Info. And let's get the make and model of this internal storage drive. Oh, it's made by SSD. It doesn't say what it is, but it does say it's an NVMe, and it says it's Gen 3 by 4. That's perfect. Okay. It's been turned on 66 times, and it's got 5 hours on the odometer. Okay, good to know. Let's go to Crystal Disk Mark Portable Edition. We're not installing any software on customers' computers. Since I have no intention of keeping this computer, it will eventually be in the hands of a customer. So that's why I don't log into anything. I don't install software other than VLC. That's for the end user to do. I find that very disrespectful. Let's see what Crystal Disk Mark says on our sequential read and write speeds. These two top numbers are what I'm most interested in. That is the best performance in the best case scenario that it will ever deliver. And that is not good. It's pretty bad. 2321 puts this at a mid-range quality Gen 3 by 4 drive. It's almost running at Gen 3 by 2. It's a little faster. But at this price point, the fact is you're still 4 times faster than a SATA drive. And other mini PCs that we've reviewed here of this price point are putting a SATA drive in there of the same capacity that runs at a speed 75% less than this number here. Also, it's kind of a waste of money too. If you put a really fast drive in a really slow computer, it's like driving a Ferrari on the freeway at rush hour. You're not going anywhere any faster than anybody else. You know what I mean? It just doesn't really make any sense. It's all an illusion. So if you want to buy into the illusion, you can go ahead of me next in line. I'm not interested in making that purchase. Putting in a faster NVMe drive on the cheapest computer you can buy doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm okay with it. At this price point, I'm just glad it's not SATA. Let's see what those write speeds look like, because usually the write speeds are even lower than the read speeds. Let's see if that's the case here. On a higher end Gen 3 drive, then the read and write speeds might be quite similar, but you're going to pay extra for that kind of performance, regardless if you've got a CPU or the rest of the system can keep up. So bear that in mind. Okay, here we go, 1400, yeah. So that's about 3 times 1700, 3 times faster than SATA, which is still, again, at this price point, I don't know how you could complain. That'll also keep the drives running cooler, that they're not as fast, so you're less likely going to have heat-related problems. And that means probably longer life. Heat is the main thing that kills computer components. Secondly would be power spikes, spills or drops, human interaction, damaging or abusing the machine. And then finally, the least common reason a computer fails is just a component failed for no apparent reason. And it does happen, but it's extraordinarily rare under modern manufacturing conditions. Pretty much if it runs for 30 days or it runs for a few weeks, it'll run for years and years and years. But don't try telling that to somebody who had that rarity occur to them, because they'll think it happens all the time because it happened once to them. That's just not the way the world works. The world isn't revolving around these people. And none of us are immune from having that symptom or being a victim, if you will, of a part failure, but it's very uncommon. something usually causes it. Maybe a power spike you didn't even realize you had. Or maybe somebody did something to it, somebody that lives with you, or another employee when you weren't around did something and nobody's fessing up to what they did. Other times, it's just, I don't know what happened, it just stopped working. And those other times, they do happen, but it's not common. But you can't avoid it. That's what the warranty is for. If everything always worked regardless, you wouldn't need a warranty. There's your final numbers on the solid state drive, which is, again, pretty pathetic for a Gen 3x4 drive. But at this price, you should be lucky to have it. You should feel lucky. Because other manufacturers we reviewed at this price point are giving you SATA drives that run far, far slower. Multiple folds. Okay, Crystal Disk Mark. I want this saved as a JPEG file. I want to save those results on the desktop. Save. Should put it over here somewhere. There it is. And I'll run my optimizer, and then we'll allow that to run and reboot. I know there's no updates, so I'm not going to waste time checking. And you'll see Secure Boot is off. That's fine. I prefer it off. Again, for home users. And then allow it to do its thing, and it'll reboot automatically. Does it have dual channel RAM? The specs say it does. You know, that's a fair question, Andy. Let's let it reboot. Actually, I suppose I could probably do this while it's running. You shouldn't, but I can. Because if I break it, I won't cry victim. I know I broke it, okay? If you're willing to accept accountability and responsibility, knock yourself out. But it's always best to be patient, shut everything down, and be safe. Who wants to break their own stuff, right? But if you're filming, that's great entertainment if you do. Spectacular failures, live on camera. I don't need this flash drive plugged in anymore, so I can pull that out now and put it away. Let's see if we got 2 sticks of RAM. Now, I don't necessarily, by the way, I don't have to open this up and look. We could run CPU-Z and it'll tell us what's in there, just so you know. You don't have to physically open up the machine. Okay, everything's green now. That's good. Close that. And again, you shouldn't be opening up the machine with it running. But again, I'm a computer technician and I accept full responsibility. If I break it, I buy it. Too late, I've already bought it. So there's 4 screws. Let me go full screen on camera 1. I better not forget I got this thing on. You don't want to short anything out, and you don't want to pull out any cables accidentally. But this looks exactly the same as the other one that we reviewed. I mean, exactly the same case. And I expect there probably is 2 sticks of RAM in there. Probably 2 sticks of 8. It's always good to verify and not assume. And CPU-Z would do that right on the screen without us having to open it. That's a free utility you download. Oh, I remember this. I remember you. Yeah, there's your 2 sticks of RAM right there. There's our NVMe drive. Underneath the NVMe drive is the Wi-Fi card, which is also removable. And there may also be a battery for the BIOS underneath here. Yep, that's 2 sticks. There's thermal tape on the NVMe drive, which is kind of funny because it's so slow, it probably doesn't get that hot. But that's okay, it won't hurt anything either. There's 2 notches here. I come over here. See if I can get you a better view of this. One more time. Try that with the close-up camera. And you see these 2 notches? And you see here? This only goes in one way. If I turn it around the other way, it won't line up. It has to go in like that. But you see, nothing's holding this together. Everything's held together basically by the lid. And I didn't pay attention to how I took this off. So did it go on this way? Did it go on that way? You'd think I'd learn by now. Did it go on like that? Or did it go on like this? Or did I like this? Or does it go like this? I'm going to guess that the mounting holes for the VESA bracket are towards the front. I could be wrong. It'd be nice if all the manufacturers got together and decided there was one way we were going to do it. But you really need to pay attention when you take it apart. But if it goes together okay, I suppose you got it right. I can always go back and look at my videos to see what I wasn't paying attention to. It's great if you're taking apart something you're not familiar with. You use your cell phone camera to take pictures as you go along. Nobody knows. No sense of pride lost. Don't tell anybody. We'll keep it our secret. You can go back and look at your photos and how you took things apart when you can't remember. How did this go back together? That's it. There you go. So that should answer your question, Andy. Andy says dual channel is a plus for Glorlin. Okay. Or it's a minus. Because if they'd put a single channel 16 gig, you'd only have to buy one 16 gig to double it to 32. But because they gave you 2 8s, you'd have to pull 2 8s out, buy 2 16s, and now you've doubled your cost of the upgrade, which I would say is a big minus for Glorlin. You can choose Andy's side or choose my side. There's no right or wrong. It's just how you want to look at it. I always say, some people hear opportunity knocking and complain about the noise. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Either way, you still got 6 eggs. All right, other questions? Madturian said, Ace Magic has a NAS currently available. Do you have any preliminary opinions of it? Yes. When you see B-Link, Ace Magic, Minis Forum, and Orico all have NASs, they're all basically using the same Chinese-made unfinished beta operating system, or you don't get an operating system. You just get the hardware, and you as an end user have to source out your own NAS operating system. So whether that's TrueNAS, Unraid, Open Media Vault, whatever it is. In the professional world and context, we don't do that because there's no chain of blame if something goes wrong. You need to be able to have litigation and be able to sue somebody if there's a big security breach. And you're not going to do that with home-based solutions. They just don't work in the corporate world because there's no chain of blame and there's no accountability for liability with regards to security. So what we're looking for in business and what you should be looking for at home, in my opinion, is what businesses are using. Because what businesses use universally is good for home users. But what home users do is often dangerous, uncertain, unreliable, and needs a lot of maintenance and massaging. So if you've got nothing to do and you're looking for a fun project, these mini PCs that are, rather mini PC makers that are making NASs offer some really unique options for people who want to do all the work. If you're getting paid by the hour, and I'm getting paid by the hour, and I'm setting up a Synology, I'll be done probably in 30 minutes, and you'll be done in about 4 days. Just averaged out. We'll be up and running and using it long before you're done because you have to do everything yourself. It's going to take more time. You're going to have to reboot and reconfigure. And if you miss something and there's an open port you didn't realize and the company's data gets pilfered, you just ruined your career. So for businesses, there are people like me that will install TrueNAS on hardware like that for businesses that don't know any better. And those people, you know,
that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't do a good job, but it does mean that they're going to have to go out and be there longer and more often than I will. So when it comes to really taking your data seriously, I don't think anybody but Synology can be considered seriously. And the reason I say that is that Synology's been around the longest, and they've really had more time to polish their operating system and all of the apps. There's no better NAS operating system existing on this planet than Synology, in my opinion. Now, QNAP's pretty good, and ASUS Store's pretty good, and TerraMaster's pretty good. But Synology cleans their clocks. On the other hand, Miniswarm's NAS is far more powerful than anything Synology makes, but you can't put the Synology operating system on it, so what good is it? The Miniswarm and Orico NAS software is made by a Chinese company, and it is in a beta state. It's not even close to being done. So you've got this hardware that's fantastic and just no real way to use it unless you want to put true NAS on them, which you can do, or Unraid, or OpenMediaVault, or Zima OS, or countless other open source freeware that you accept all liability and take all the blame, and you'll be the one that's made out to be the bad guy when it doesn't work as expected. And if you're willing to take that responsibility on, that's mostly why it's a home lab enthusiast project and not something used in business, generally speaking. So when it comes to these mini PC manufacturers making NASs, the NAS is the easy part. Anybody can make a NAS. It's simple. It's the software. And since Synology software only works on Synology, there's only one choice for me. I do have some clients that have QNAPs, only because they wanted something that was NVMe only. And Synology doesn't make such a thing. So QNAP is my second choice. And then ASUS also makes an NVMe only as well as a standard NAS. They're my third choice. TerraMaster is the cheapest of the cheap. There's no way to get it locally repaired. You would have to send it back to Asia for repairs. It would probably cost more, and you'd be without it for so long, you'd just buy another NAS. Other than that, they're pretty good, but they still have a lot of polishing. They've kind of fallen behind. And that's it. If it's not those four, I'm not interested personally for those reasons I've given you. But if you're a home user just looking to mess around, they can be very fun and enjoyable. But I wouldn't want my business relying on it. And I wouldn't want to be the one that has to get the call every single time something has to be massaged because I forgot to dot an I or cross a T. It's a very complex setup. I think Robbie, is it Robbie over there at NAS Compares? He talks about why you would not want to choose a turnkey NAS solution. What are the benefits of doing everything yourself? And then he makes a counter video that's the exact opposite, why you would only want to use a turnkey solution. And I love that he covers both sides of the same. He doesn't pick a side. I have to pick a side because I have a career, and I'm not going to lie to you. This is what I do, and this is why I do it. These are the choices I make. This is why I make them. If you're not in my career and you don't have my accountability, you do whatever you want. But if you're curious, which I'm assuming that's why you're asking, you'll never see me use those do-it-yourself projects because I'm not a hobbyist. And I don't want to give up my career or spend a lot of time constantly massaging something over a technical detail. I want to get the job done, get it done right the first time, and then just do regular maintenance. And I find that with Synology, QNAP, ASUS Store, and TerraMaster, in that order, I will use one of those or I will use nothing at all. Ajin guy said, I had a Cyrix CPU computer for a few months. Yeah, I did too. I had Texas Instruments, I had Cyrix, I had, there's somebody I'm missing here. I got a drawer at Studio A filled with antique vintage CPUs that were all pulled out of systems over the years I've been in this industry. Even an old 386SX,
I think I have an 8080 in there too, if I'm not mistaken. It's a drawer just crammed full. I've got one of those big gold Pentium processors. It's all solid, like gold plated. And then I have, you know, the cartridge style Pentium 3s. Yeah, those are all at Studio A. Just memories. Why do I hold on to them? I don't know. I have no idea. The drawer won't even close anymore. It's so full, I had to stop saving them because I didn't have anywhere else to put them. Drawer, I have to shake it to get the CPUs to all settle in. And then finally the drawer closed. I started pulling heat sinks off just so I could at least have the CPU. I think someday I'll do something with them, maybe some kind of history lesson, but in the meantime, they're just sitting in a drawer, forgotten until you just mentioned it. I should just send them to a recycler. It just, for whatever reason, they're small, they're easy to hold on to, you know. Speaking of that, I do have something here. I actually bought it for a gift for somebody that I've lost contact with, so I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But back in the day, there was a company called Sun, and they used to make workstations, primarily used in corporate America, where I used to work. And the processors that Sun was using were extraordinarily expensive and way ahead of their time. So if you look at the date on this processor, you'll be shocked to see that they were long using the land grid array flat pads, not pins, long before Intel and AMD. That's how far ahead they were by many, many years. This was how they made their processors. Now that company's gone the way of the dodo, extinct, but this is a lesson in history that what you're using at home is the child, and what was the parent was what the corporations use, and that's still true today. What you guys use at home, if you've never worked in a corporate environment, you don't realize how insignificant your hardware is at home, because the stuff in corporate America will blow your mind. But it does eventually trickle down. That thing's got some weight to it. When did this come out? Let me get my other glasses so I can read it. This was the 90s, I think. Maybe early 2000s at the latest. Long, long before Intel and AMD. The copyright is 1996. Yeah, LGA platform. Long before you would have ever seen it as a home user. Decade at least. Let's see, let's go to, let's go over here for a second and I'll share the results with you. Put my keyboard and my mouse over here. And here we go. When was the Spark Ultra what is that, a 2 or a 3? 2i, that's confusing. II, lowercase I, released. 2001. So when was the first LGA CPU from Intel or AMD released? Oh, that's not too bad. It doesn't sound right. I never saw a socket 775. With a land grid array. What am I confusing my terms? No, AMD followed up last.
Well, not including Threadripper. Yeah, it was 2022. That was a full 21 years after Spark was using it, or Sun was using it rather. Yeah, LGA. So that's LandGrid, and then what is the other one? PGA. Yeah, pin grid array. So they're saying socket 775 didn't have pins? I swear it did. Am I just not remembering it right? Anyway, you get the point, right? So I guess I need to take that to Studio A and throw it in the drawer. I really meant that as a gift for somebody, but again, I lost contact with them, so their loss, I guess. And maybe they don't even want it. I bought you this thing. I think you're going to love it. Oh, great. I love it. Thanks. Probably best to keep it for myself. Mats Olov from Sweden says hello. Welcome in, Mats Olov. Bajan guy said he used to use a SunSpark workstation back in the early 90s at work. It was used to store files from a piece of equipment. At Intel, we had a room full of Sun workstations, and they had a label maker where they were all labeled after the Phoenix Suns basketball team players that were very famous. Basketball was huge when you had players like Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, not Shaquille O'Neal, Muggsy Bogues, Charles Barkley, Danny Ainge, Dan Marley. It was big. It was happening. And I was even watching, wow, the Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan. Holy moly, what a team. And then Phoenix, what a team. And then basketball after those guys left the teams. I've never watched it since. It's gotten boring. You talk about LeBron James and all these others. It's just not the same, man. No, that was a heck of a time to be watching basketball. And I'm not even into sports. That's how good it was. So when you'd walk into the room there at Intel where they had all these Sun workstations, you'd see Ainge, Marley, Barkley. They were all. That's how you knew which machine to go to, was based on the label. So they named the Suns workstation after the Suns players. I thought I was delighted to see that some of the nerdiness taken out of it with a little playful fun. And because basketball was so popular, the Phoenix Suns, the Chicago Bulls, they were doing so well. Even Miami was doing really, really good, that the ratings were intense and everybody was talking about it. So a lot of times if they name computers after sports players, I don't know, because I don't know the reference. So they still could be doing that today, and I'm just seeing some strange name on it without any definition of the meaning, and I don't care enough to look it up. Good times. All right, any other questions for me? Again, I'm happy to address any questions. This is interactive, that you're intended to talk to me. If you have nothing more to say, then I have nothing more to say, and we'll call it a day. I hope you're enjoying the rest of your weekend and the end of May. Here's hoping that we have a fruitful and prosperous June, and that it doesn't get too hot in Phoenix too soon, but it's coming. I just don't need it. We know we're going to hit temps over 100 degrees. Hopefully 110 is still a ways off. I'll tell you what, 103, 104 is fine. The minute you hit 105 and you go above, it's just wait for the sun to go down. Just stay indoors. There's not much for trees or shade in Phoenix, so you're pretty much out without any clouds, just a bare sun bearing down on you. And if you're stuck in traffic and you just have nowhere to move and your engine's just idling, the AC doesn't work well, rolling the windows down makes it worse. You're just torture. So for me personally, I like to wait for the traffic to die down, for the sun to go down. And while most of you are asleep, I'm still awake. And when most of you are awake, I'm still asleep. And that works out really well for me, because that's just the way I am. And having lived in Detroit, that didn't work out so well. But in Arizona,
especially in Phoenix. My sleep schedule, I'm just a natural nocturnal person. Much more aligns with also staying out of the crowds, right? The rush hour traffic in the morning, I'm dead asleep to the world. So there's accidents and road closures happening due to major accidents. That makes the traffic even worse. And when I wake up, I read about it. I don't have to experience it. Now, you can't avoid that entirely in Phoenix, but you'll encounter it on a much more regular basis if you're in that traffic every weekday in the morning and in the evening. And hopefully you're just not a part of it. Hopefully the worst thing that happened is now you're running another half an hour late and suffering in that heat that's still bearing down relentlessly on you and your steel box as you're sitting in traffic with your AC doing the best it can. Now, if you've got an electric vehicle, I bet the AC probably works fine. And if you have a self-driving electric vehicle, you can just let the car inch you along for the next couple miles. Because even if it screws up, you're just going to bump a car, and it's probably not going to screw up at those speeds. So you don't have to gas brake, gas brake, gas brake. And if you have a stick shift, oh yeah, do that for a couple months and let me know when you need a hip replacement. Because if you've got a stiff, heavy-duty clutch, oh my, I was limping when I was getting out of my truck back in the day. It hurt so bad. Joys of living in the desert. Well, rush hour traffic is the same no matter where you are, you know. But at least there's a pretty good indicator when to expect it. So if I'm the bonehead that decides I need to go right now in the middle of heavy traffic, that's on me. If I have the ability to postpone it a couple hours, avoid those crowds, I get there sooner, get what I need done, and focus the time I've got now to do something else while everybody else is doing that. I'll wait till they're done and then I'll go. That's the benefit of being nocturnal. Everybody else is asleep, I'm at Walmart. Yeah, I love it. I don't like the heat. I'm not a fan of it. And Mitch, our friend Mitch Morrison, he's had enough of it. He's like, I don't think I can take another Phoenix summer. So he plans vacations to get the heck out of here in the summertime for that reason. And it just gets worse. Like the older I get, I just can't tolerate it like I used to. When I was younger, I could ride my bike for 2 miles out in 110-degree weather. I didn't care. Now I'm closer to 60 than I am to 15, I'll tell you that. And my body says, no, you've had enough of that. I've had enough of it. And if you do that, I'm going to introduce you to something called heat stroke, which you may not survive. I think I'll stay in the air-conditioned house and wait till the sun goes down. Nothing's that important. That's the way I see it. Edward Bass says, have a great weekend. And thank you, Edward. You too. Andy says, thank you. Thank you, Andy. Andy made a recommendation for us. He recommended we buy a Boss game. And I thought, yeah, I kind of feel like we already did that one. But the more I looked at it and the frequency, like the last time regardless, when's the last time we've looked at a Boss game? It's been a long time. So Andy, thank you for your suggestion, because initially I kind of dismissed it, just being honest. I started thinking about it. And I thought, well, even if it is similar to the last Boss game, when was the last Boss game re-reviewed? Quite a while ago. Long story short, ordered. And when it arrives, we'll put it in our stack. We only have 2 mini PCs new in a box left to review. So that'll cover us for Friday and Sunday. And thanks to Andy's recommendation, we've got one more coming. So that'll buy us the next Friday. But we've got nothing else after that. So we've got to follow up a lot of part 2s on these initial reviews. And we'll get through those after we're done with all of the new reviews. We usually only do the follow-ups on Wednesdays, but when we have nothing left for Friday or Sunday, we'll fill that with part 2s of earlier reviews. And when we have nothing left there, I don't have any answers for you, except we'll hope something comes in between now and then. And that's the reality of where we're at with the technical space. What I love so much is TP-Link, the company that last January, people on the internet had this anxiety about Congress is going after TP-Link, that they're going to not make them legal to sell in the United States. What are we going to do? And sort of like Chicken Little, you know, it's all just conjecture and hearsay about, you know, Congress releasing a statement but not performing any action. They're just considering something, which they should have just kept their mouth shut on. But they do that for political posturing in order to pressure a company to obey. But it's all just a show. There's a reason why it's called politics. A lot of it is just a dog and pony show. They want to flex their muscles and say, I might hurt you with my muscles, so you better straighten up. Otherwise, we're coming for you, when they really had no intention of ever coming for them. And I told you guys this. It's all just political posturing. Now, fast forward, and since that has occurred, the FCC has decided that no routers built outside of the United States can be allowed to be sold in the United States moving forward. Anything that already has FCC approval is fine. They're grandfathered in. But anything new that they want to introduce to the United States, new models of routers, you must meet certain requirements that are almost impossible to meet. And it doesn't matter that certain companies are based here in the United States. What matters is where the routers are made. It's a security concern, which is just more political posturing. It's nonsense. It's not real. It's all theater. And to prove this, who do you think one of the first people to get FCC approval was? And who was the first manufacturer from outside the United States to make Wi-Fi 8 routers available to the public? Do you think it could be TP-Link? And for some reason, the state of Texas still wants to sue TP-Link, which is so hilarious that they're so disconnected from reality and lack any sort of technical understanding at that level in Texas, that they're the only state of all the United States that wants to pursue TP-Link over the nonsense and posturing that Congress did back in January. Texas actually believes it, and Texas is following through, which is the only Wi-Fi 8 router allowed for consumers right now in the United States, which aren't expected to be released until October. And Texas wants to prevent you, if you're a resident of Texas, from being able to buy one of those routers when everybody else in the United States, the federal government said it's okay now. But Texas thinks the federal government doesn't know anything, which shows how little they know. And I hope they save face and drop the lawsuit and just don't even talk about it, because this is so humiliating. I mean, they're so disconnected from understanding how technology works. To make a big public show of it is, again, political posturing. Look what we're doing to protect you. There was nothing to be afraid of from the beginning. Everybody knows that now except Texas. It's so stupid. And poor TP-Link is like, what did we do? Why us? Why'd you pick on us? Because you sell more routers in the United States than any other manufacturer. And? No and. But what did we? You sell more routers to consumers in the United States than any other manufacturer. So we're going to turn you into an example. But we didn't do anything. Yeah, we'll see. Can we get permission from the FCC to sell our new Wi-Fi 8 routers this fall? No problem. Rubber stamp. Here you go. But I thought, if you guys are really paying attention to what's going on, it's all a dog and pony show. None of it's real. It's just a political game. And it's meant to appear that they're doing something when they're not doing anything at all. They're just adding more paperwork and bureaucracy to what was already a complex system, to the effect of making it look like they're doing something. When I was writing articles and writing books, I once had an editor, and I never thought of this before, but I once had an editor that was correcting my work, like severely correcting my grammar. And I don't consider myself a writer, but I knew I wasn't that bad. And I asked a friend of mine who was also a writer,
and had a lot more years of experience than me. And I said, how come nothing I ever write is good enough? Not once has this editor ever sent anything back without correction. You think with everything I've written, one thing would come back with no notes. And he said, Carey, if they don't do their job, their boss will say, why are you here? Why am I paying you? They need to come up with reasons, whether they're legitimate or not, to correct your work. Otherwise, they'll be looking for another job. All they're doing is protecting their job. Don't take it personally. It has nothing to do with you. They must correct your work, regardless if it needs correction, to ensure that they maintain a job. And I never thought of it like that. They don't give a rat's behind over what's the best way to phrase something or whether or not my working. They don't care. They just need to keep showing that you need to keep me employed. You need me. The publisher needs me to do their editing because look at all the corrections I'm making. What brought this on is I wrote an article. I wrote a couple articles for Tom's Hardware. And I'm expecting, when I submit the article, that I'm going to get some feedback on it with suggested recommendations for changes to grammar in particular. So you can imagine my shock when I sent it wasn't meant to be a draft, but I'm like, well, this is my article, but it's clearly going to come back. I'm like a dog that's been beaten. A hand wants to reach out to pet me and I'm flinching. No, we're not going to hit you. We're trying to pet you. So PTSD. So I'm expecting to get notes back from the editor. Instead, I see my articles published on Tom's Hardware. And I never heard back from the editor. So I wrote to the editor and I said, I'm confused. I sent you an article and you didn't make any recommendations for fixing any grammar or anything? He goes, no, nothing you wrote needed correction. But everything I wrote needed correction to this other editor. Did I get better as a writer? Or was it just the editor that I was working with? I don't know. So I wrote another article for Tom's Hardware and I submitted it. Published. Still no notes. So am I a better writer? I go back and I read what I wrote before. It's exactly the same to me. This editor said it needs all these corrections. This editor said it's perfect. It needs no corrections. Who's right? I guess who's ever writing the check. Bajin Guy said, great stream as always. I really enjoy my time here. Well, thanks, Bajin Guy. We enjoy having you here. Thank you for joining us, spending time with us today. All right, guys. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us for today. Thank you again for the contributions. Charlie Purdy, thank you so much. Buster, as always, thank you so much. Everybody in green, we just wouldn't be here without you. This free content the public gets to watch at no expense, no admission fee, is because of everybody in green. They're our corporate sponsors, our members. And without them, well, today's video would not have happened. I also want to shout out our friends at VIP-URCDKEYs. I don't want to keep beating you over the head with it, but I have to tell you that what we've got here is a pretty special arrangement. And I don't know, I can't promise you that we're going to continue offering the discounted keys because it does seem like with the economy being the way it is, people just aren't buying anything. And I don't know what the situation is financially, but if you're in the need or you're thinking of getting a Windows or an Office license key, given the way the economy is, the discount that we offer, I hope will continue indefinitely. I don't have any signs that it's going away, other than just watching the lack of sales, looking at numbers from Asus, MSI, Gigabyte, ASRock. They're bleeding out the cash like crazy. This is the worst year they've had in a long, long time. And I don't know that some of these companies may not survive however long this lasts. And the result is, again, because CPU and not CPU, but RAM and storage and graphics card prices are so outrageous, therefore people don't need to buy licenses for Windows or Office because they're not buying the machines. And if there's not enough there, then eventually the support that they offer us to help us continue to make these videos may go away. And I'm hoping it doesn't, but I want you to let you know that's in the back of my mind, because I don't see the numbers. I have no idea how many people are buying. I don't get paid on a commission or anything like that. So if you're thinking you'll get one in a couple of months, and then there's no more, we're not promoting it anymore because they pulled support, it would only be for financial reasons. Not a Stephen Colbert financial reason, but an actual one. So we are working with them month to month just to see how we're doing. So far as I know, everything's okay. And you shouldn't be buying a product key until you need it. But so long as they're available, without the certainty that I used to have with the market, I would strongly advise you to take advantage of it while you can. And if in the future it happens to go away, I want you to know why. And that's regarding our discount, right? They'll still be selling Windows and Office keys at regular price, but whether or not they continue to allow us the discount, and again, they haven't said anything, but I'm hopeful that that will continue without interruption the rest of this year. But if it doesn't, I just want you to know ahead of time why. So as a reminder, if you're interested in buying a legitimate legal license key for a fraction of what Microsoft wants to charge you, if you want to pay more along the lines of like Dell and HP, what they're paying for their license keys, you can get it from VIP-URCDKEYs. And underneath every video in the video description, like this video right here, when you scroll down beneath my name and you get into how many views the video has and it says more, click on more. That's where all the links are for all the products I'm reviewing, and that's where the links are for the Windows and Office keys. Not that you have to use them. Again, they're not commission-based, but that'll just save you time. You just click right there. It takes you right to it. And you enter your coupon code to get your 25% off. I am very worried based on the economy. When I'm going to restaurants that are normally very busy and they're empty, popular restaurants, and on a Friday or Saturday night, you can sit right down at any table you want. That's a sure sign of what's going on with our economy. And things like these discounts and things will start to dry up because companies won't be able to afford to offer them anymore. So again, I'm not aware of there being any problems. They haven't told me, but I am thinking in my head, I've got some anxiety that we might lose this, because if people aren't using it, what's the point? But we appreciate that VIP-URCDKEY supports us. And regardless, I still buy my keys there for my customers because I still can't find anybody cheaper that offers 6 months of support with real legitimate keys. And I have no reason to look elsewhere. They've taken care of me 100%. They've taken care of you guys 100%. I haven't heard from any single real viewer who claims that they had a bad experience. And if you do, you need to let me know about it. John Lewis says, thank you, Carey and Mara, for the Sunday content. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, John. Big Game James says, I just got a key for Windows 11 Pro 3 days ago. Thank you. I'm glad you took advantage of it. And I hope we continue to offer that discount. There's a feeling, just a feeling I have. And I would hate to lose their support. But I will still be buying my keys from them regardless. And Jim Kenny says, great show as always. Thank you, Uncle Carey, Mara, and Sable the cat.
See you tomorrow. Yes, that's right. Tomorrow, Monday, June 1st, is our members only videos. That's for members only. They never, ever are released to the public. And we're going to discuss more informal matters, more of a hangout. Sometimes there's repairs or diagnostics that may contain private information I don't want exposed publicly, but I trust my members. So I'm more willing to showcase stuff like that on a live video when there's an exclusive trusted audience. And that's part of what your membership gets you, along with priority email support. If you have any questions, we can help you with. And discounts when we're selling things. We offer the members cheaper prices. And what else? Archives to our older videos that are blocked from public consumption are a benefit of membership to go back to our library of over 1,800 videos. Many of which we blocked because, quite frankly, they're not really that useful anymore. Some people love the nostalgia of watching me build a socket 1151 Gen 4 or whatever. Most people on the internet don't want it. So it just sits there, 1 or 2 views a month. So I just say, you know what, let's just take it out and make it for members only. If you're that much of an enthusiast and you want to go back and watch that old obsolete content, help keep us alive by supporting us. And then that's what we do for you to show our appreciation, all of those things. And we can't thank you enough for it. We would have shut this channel down 2 years ago. Financially, it would have been, the bank would have been empty. So thank you for keeping us up and running. And thanks to the folks at VIP-URCDKEY who also are a major reason why we're still afloat. We're not necessarily growing, but we're not sinking, sort of maintaining. And I hope to get through this tough period and get back to being overwhelmed with too much work and a huge backlog. Those were the, turns out that when I was my most stressed out, those were the good old days because everything's slowing down. But hopefully it'll all come back. We just have to wait it out. It's like a storm, wait for the storm to pass. And so long as we have our members supporting us, I ain't going nowhere, regardless. So thank you again. Thanks to Mara for all the work she does in the background. She creates our thumbnails, does our video descriptions. She answers your emails, and she talks to companies to try and negotiate a way that we can get review units, or reaches out to companies on our behalf, so I don't have to write up the emails regarding like the issues with Glorlin that we're concerned with. She's already talked to them previously. They know who she is, and I'll just let her pick the conversation up and mention the confusion with the model numbers and specifications and driver downloads. And even the name of the website, just the lack of consistency. We're not making any demands. We're just telling them, in our opinion, if you made these changes, this would be much closer to what we're accustomed to from your competitors. We expect the same, if not better, not worse. Now, what they choose to do with that information is entirely up to them, but they're not going to know if we don't tell them. And that's all we do. We just tell them. Hopefully they say thank you when they make the changes, but they don't have to. And I don't expect them to make the changes unless they're told. They may not be aware of it. Or they may not have seen it the way that I'm seeing it, as inconsistent. We don't know. So we tell them, that way they know. Then if they decide to make the change, great. If they decide not to, good to know. For us, that's good to know. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend, what's left of it. We'll see the members back here on Monday, and then we'll be back on Wednesday with a part 2 of the one of the other mini PCs. I think I've got the Minis Forum, the, what is it called, the G1 Pro, that I need to follow up on, because that's a gaming PC, and I have some footage of benchmarking. I put my nephew to work having him benchmark some of the games he plays with Steam. So he did all that, and I've got the video recorded. We can take a look at the gameplay on it. And then we have about 4 or 5, I think, machines that we need to follow up with. A-Dreamer, I've given up with them. I'm done with them. They don't respond. If Andy wasn't buying it, I would have returned it to Amazon. So thank you to Andy for purchasing it, and we'll get that out to you probably Monday after the show, and then you'll get it about 2 days after that. And if A-Dreamer reaches out to us after that, it's too little too late.
So there will not be a part 2 on the A-Dreamer. Other than that, that's going to wrap it up for us. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing everyone. We'll see the members on Monday and seeing the rest of everyone else on Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday as always. Thank you so much. We will see you very, very soon. And until then, bye for now.